You guys want to know a genre that I really love? Stealth. The stealth genre, I think, has been a dying art form in games for many years now. And it either leads to games having it that either don't even bother trying to make good stealth mechanics, just having the stupid fucking crouch and, oh look, there's a detection indicator, ooh, you might get spotted, or even worse in my eyes, the shoehorned in sections that just break up the pacing, and if you're spotted, it leads to a game over, and it just makes the game absolutely miserable to replay. Spider-Man. While stealth is often done very poorly in newer games of today, occasionally, throughout the years, you get some absolute blinders of games that actually use stealth mechanics in a good way that completely change the way the game is played. And at the top of that list, of course, are the big two, Metal Gear Solid and Splinter Cell. These are the two big dogs of the stealth genre, like Silent Hill and Resident Evil for horror games. And I love all four of these franchises. Wow. But I'm not going to be talking about Metal Gear or Splinter Cell. They are very good games and I would love to talk about them because, man, Metal Gear would be so fun to talk about because I fucking love those games. But these two games and franchises are very similar in how they utilize stealth mechanics. They're very much sort of puzzles that you have to go through, figure out, and avoid things as much as possible. They are, in my eyes, the pinnacle of traditional stealth mechanics. They are making situations that you have to solve and figure out to get through without being seen. But what if stealth mechanics are not used in a way as a form of puzzle for the main gameplay? What if stealth is presented more as a choice than a requirement? And that's the game that we're going to be diving into today. For a really long time, I've really wanted to dive back into, I guess, 3 games that I haven't played in years. And they're games that I've really wanted to dig into for a long while now. And these are games that we honestly might never see made again in this exact form, which is kind of sad. These games come from an era that I call the golden age of gaming, which just so happens to be pretty much before GTA 5 released and about 3 years after. Because if you don't know, GTA 5, when that released, caused a massive shift in how big publishers approached games and how they were presented and sold. Developers before GTA 5, at the time, they actually had to compete with each other. They couldn't just force feed you slop and hope that you shoved as much money into the item shop. They actually had to sell you a game that was A, unique, and B, fun. Because at the time, shelling out 50 Great British pounds was a lot of money, especially for a 9-year-old me. Yeah, I was 9 when this game came out in 2012, so fucking kill me, I guess. But during this time, this need for the games to warrant the price, it led to a hell of a lot of creativity. Go back to the 360 PS3 era, you see so many unique games that we just do not get anymore. Obviously coming off the back of the PS2 original Xbox era, which is one of the most creative and boundary pushing generations, we then got into sort of this golden age where games were being perfected. Game design, level design, combat systems were all being leveled up and really improved a lot. And we started getting what many people consider some of the best games ever made. To me, the real golden age of games is between 2008 and 2012. And we saw so many games and studios make their break, make their grand masterpiece of games during this period. And one of these games that was made during this period, more specifically 2012, led to the studio really getting its name out there. That game, of course, is Dishonored. Dishonored is a really interesting game to talk about, as for Arcane, this was their 4th game ever made, making Arc Fatalis in 2002, then Dark Messiah of Might and Magic a few years later, and then Karma Star, which was a mobile game which people don't really count. All of these games were completely different and all made for different publishers. None of these games were actual, I guess, passion pieces made by the developers because they had a love for these games. They might have, but I often see when a developer makes a game for different publishers, they're often fulfilling a request by these publishers. But for some reason, in 2010, Arcane was acquired by ZeniMax Studios, parent company of Bethesda. Yes, they are now owned by Xbox, and recently Arcane got completely gutted with Arcane Austin, the second studio, being shut down. I still have not forgiven Xbox for doing this. I hate it when these big publishers acquire game studios and then shut them down for no real reason. Why even buy them in the first place? Oh, IP, that's why. This is a massive problem, and I really do hope the gaming industry gets this under control, because it's getting to the point where a lot of these these studios are shutting down and now they don't have the people to make the games. They're hoping that the AI bubble will allow them to make games and just generate them whenever they want. It won't. You will always need people to make games, but most of these big money executives don't think like that. They don't actually give a fuck about games. They just want to make as much money as possible, which is kind of sad, and this happens all over the place. And this was during the time when ZeniMax really wanted to start expanding and growing a lot in the gaming industry. Obviously, ZeniMax had Bethesda, but Bethesda wasn't enough to really take over the gaming industry. They needed more studios, and I'm pretty sure during this period, they picked up Machine Games, maybe id, and of course Arcane. I might be wrong, but they did acquire a lot of studios during this period. And the main studios they were targeting were studios that were either A, growing, or B, had significant IPs that they wanted to get their hands on. And Arcane was a growing studio that didn't really have anything. It was a young studio that they could mold into something that they needed. So once they acquired Arcane, of course, significant investment went into it, probably improving their studios. But with the acquisition of Arcane, of course, it would be expected for them to make good games that then would sell well. So what kind of game did Arcane make? Well, the first game that they would make for Bethesda would be Dishonored in 2012, and it certainly was a game to make. Looking at this choice today in terms of presenting this as something that would sell well seems like absolute insanity from a investor standpoint. Dishonored is an immersive sim that has a focus on stealth action gameplay, which gives the player the freedom to do the levels however they wanted in a slightly cartoony world, which was very different to the standard that has been set for the past few years. Remember, this came out in 2012 and we were fully in what I call the brown and grey era of gaming. We were in the hardcore military shit that was just brown and grey and muscly, guy and fucking masculine. Things like Gears of War, Call of Duty 4, World at War, Halo 3, Medal of Honor, fucking Skylanders, I don't know. It was very military, brown, hardcore shit. Crackdown came out as well. Fucking hell, I miss Crackdown. I could go on and name many games, but pretty much with COD 4 releasing and GTA 4 as well, the kind of grey, serious, brown fucking look of games was very in at this point in time. This style at the time is basically what we have now, which is like the Sony Rockstar hyper-realistic water physics games that we get now that is always talked about and for some reason hyped up beyond anything. That's what these games were back then. And Dishonored was completely against that. And Arcane games have always had a very unique style to them, and this stylistic difference in art style and presentation really did allow the game to completely stand apart from others. Arcane games, for better or worse, have always had this really cartoony style to them with like the really big hands. It looks good in some games like Dishonored and then really goofy in others like Redfall. And despite Dishonored being the wrong thing to appeal to masses, it's always been a thing that stealth games are never that guaranteed to sell well. Even things like Splinter Cell and Metal Gear sometimes struggle to sell games. This game, for some reason, did really fucking well. In the words of the higher-ups at ZeniMax, Dishonored sold significantly better than they expected. They did not expect this game to sell as well as it did. And how many did it sell? Well, the numbers are a bit wishy-washy and I'm not 100% sure. And the first year sales, which is what I wanted to look at because that's often what game companies define as a success, I couldn't find. But total lifetime sales, which were last reported God knows when, were 5.8 million copies, which was a hell of a lot back then. It sold stupid quick. So quick, in fact, that it actually outsold a game I'm pretty sure all of you have played, Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs is a title that for some reason everyone played. I don't know why, and in the UK, it was one of the top selling games when it came out. When Dishonored came out though, it dethroned it. It took its place as the #1 selling game in the UK market. For some reason, the UK's always had a really good job of tracking game sales, and this is a really good way to figure out how well a game did. Dishonored was selling well, but also it became the highest grossing new IP for a game in that year, and Sleeping Dogs sold really well, so I'm surprised that Dishonored actually dethroned it, considering that Sleeping Dogs was a GTA clone and Dishonored was a stealth game. But not only did Dishonored sell extremely well, it was also received extremely well not only by critics, but also the general player base, which, hey, seems to be an extremely hard thing to do today. If critics like it, the general population don't like it. If the general population do like it, critics hate it. There never seems to be both that love it. Dishonored is a game that makes no sense. It sold well, it did well, and for all intents and purposes, it is a good game, but it's a game that, in my opinion, does not make sense for how well it did. So, I guess without further ado, we should dive into Dishonored and see what makes it such a unique game and why it was such a success all those years ago.
Corvo, if only there was someone else I trusted to send, so that you could remain near. But there is no one else, and the Spy Master was right to insist that I send you. The plague has taken so many, and we must find a cure. When you are near, my heart is at peace. Emily and I will count the days until you return. Hurry home, and bring good news.
Steady hand. That's it. Watch it.
We follow the royal protector of the Empress and her child, Corvo. I'm just going to state this now. Corvo and the Empress have definitely got a little relationship going, and it's confirmed in not only this game, but also explicitly in Dishonored 2, that Corvo and the Empress had a little bit of hickey-dicky, and the child was produced from them. I just wanted to set this fact because for some reason, some of the actions and things that happen during the game are kind of weird if you don't look at it as Corvo is the father. But now you get it. But it's clear from the opening dialogue, the Empress is very fond of Corvo. She wanted him to remain close and not be sent out on the mission that he was sent out on. But here we have actually just returned from that mission she didn't want us leaving on. And now we are heading back to meet with our secret beloved girlfriend. And if you can't tell from the art style and the general vibe of this game and the setting it has, it's heavily inspired by Victorian England with its slightly steampunk-esque industrial revolution look to it, and a bit of the 16th century in it as well, which kind of explains a lot of the style as well as the characters and the world that it builds up in the game. Of course, there is some other parts of English history in here spread throughout, which you'll very quickly pick up on, but mainly I'm pretty sure the world of Dishonored and, well, the city of Dunwall is very clearly inspired by Victorian England, and more specifically Victorian London, which I'm from London. There is a bit of Edinburgh that some people do say, which is clear, but it's mainly London, and I'm going to treat it as such. In my eyes, Dunwall to me is meant to be an encapsulation of England in this era. Dunwall is meant to be a representation of every city in England in the Victorian era, and it makes a lot of sense when you start looking at how the characters speak, the buildings that we go through, and how the society is built up as well. And honestly, this itself is one of the game's biggest strengths. Being a London boy myself, I always love when games use the city in any form. Be it what Ubisoft has done for quite a few games for some reason, from Zombie, which had a fairly good looking London in it, to Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which also had a Victorian era London, and now Watch Dogs Legion, which was a very bad representation of London. It looks like London, but it don't feel like London. Also, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, where we were in Piccadilly Circus. That was a very good use of that area because fuck me, that was well made. But I personally think Dishonored and its presentation of Dunwall is one of the best depictions and representations of what London and British culture, and I guess nobility as well, was like during the Victorian era. We had Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and I think that did a terrible job at actually representing what that world was like back then. Dishonored, though, I think does a hell of a good job at it. But we will touch on that much later on as we start to move forward and find more of these characters that we need to talk about. But moving out and up a rather complex docking system, we finally can say hello to our daughter, Emily.
Hello, sir.
Corvo, you're back! Will you tell me about your trip, please? Were there any whales? Wait! Let's play hide and seek first. I'll cover my eyes and you hide. You have time? Mother's busy talking to that nasty old spy master.
Yeah, there's no shot that ain't our daughter. You would not even be able to touch the heir to the throne in a society that is anything like this unless you are their father. But Emily now wants us to play hide and seek with her, and doing so will lead us into a small mini game / tutorial with her, which of course is a very diegetic way of teaching us and introducing us to the stealth mechanics of the game. Now obviously the stealth here is very simple. We're just playing hide and seek, and the game is basically teaching us how enemies spot you. You crouch to enter stealth mode, and if enemies look at you or catch you in their peripheral vision, their detection meter will go up. Now, their detection meter isn't the kind that I fucking despise, which is the bar that slowly fills. It's 3 stages. You have 1, which means that they've caught a glimpse of you and they might look at you. 2 is they're suspicious and they might start to investigate the area. 3 is they definitely spotted you and they are going to go exactly where you are currently and you need to run. And then obviously 4, which is the big exclamation mark pops up, the red flicks out, and they fully spotted you and have alerted to you. The way that stealth is done, in my opinion, is simple, but it's good. And especially on harder difficulties where enemies, their cone of vision is expanded, they're more likely to spot you and they engage more of the world, they actually do look around more. It makes it way harder to stealth around them. Yes, the stealth is fairly simple overall. In the base level, this is as simple as the stealth is going to be in this game, but that's fine. If you start with a simple level for base stealth, once you start getting other bits and bobs, gadgets, skills, powers, they will start to elevate it and change it in a more meaningful way. But eventually, after hiding from our daughter long enough, she will give up and we can actually go up to her and now head off to meet with her mother, or I guess our wife. But along our way, we can meet some friendly men.
Stop moving, Campbell. And you, Corvo, welcome back. From wherever you've been.
They sent him all around the Isles to beg for aid.
A waste of time. My elixir will banish the plague from this city. Now keep still a moment, High Overseer Campbell.
I'm not so sure that painting looks like Campbell.
Just this one single conversation with these 2 fine fellows here adds a hell of a lot of world building. Just for this conversation. There is a plague that is spreading across the Isles. The Isles are basically Western Europe, apparently. I thought the Isles were just going to be the UK Isles, Scotland, Wales, England, and Northern Ireland. But apparently it's also like Spain and Germany in like Dishonored 2. Apparently we go to kind of like a Spanish area. So I guess this is also just a representation of Western Europe at the time. But the plague, obviously, the Black Plague, one of the most notorious diseases that ever spread throughout society. But who are the men here? Well, they're 2 very important men that we should probably familiarize ourselves with. The man painting is Anton Sokolov, who is the head of the Academy of Natural Philosophy, and also the royal physician to the Empress. And he himself is a very important inventor, being the primary source of a lot of the creations for the Dunwall military. And he's also created many medicinal items, such as his elixir, which will be our primary healing item in the game. And the other man is the High Overseer Thaddeus Campbell, and he is the High Overseer of the Church of Everyman. Basically the Church of England, I'm pretty sure, but it also could just be the Roman Catholic Church. It's just meant to be a representation of traditional religion, and I'm gonna say Catholicism, because that is the primary religion in Western Europe, especially during the Victorian era. But why do I think it's the Church of England? Well, the Church of England, especially during this era, for a lack of a better word, were extremely corrupt, and they were so influential, they were basically government officials as well. And also, it was best not to leave your children with them. That's a joke. If you're religious, by the way, I'm not against you. It's just, I find it funny because I'm a child. Anyway, leaving these pair to finish their painting, we can now finally go meet our wife/secret wife, the Empress Jessamine.
People, not criminals.
We've gone beyond that question, Your Majesty.
They're my citizens, and we will save them from the plague if we can. All of them.
Very well.
We will not speak of this again.
Mother, Corvo is back.
Thank you, Emily. Leave us, please.
As you wish, Your Majesty. Corvo. 2 days early. Full of surprises, as usual.
It seems that the Empress is a bit stressed out, and the man here is the royal spy master called Hiram Burrows, and he is somewhat surprised to see Corvo arrive 2 days early. As we saw from the intro, the Empress, and I'm guessing Corvo, did not want to be sent on that mission, so it makes sense why he got back as soon as possible, completing his task as quickly as possible.
I hoped that one of the other cities had dealt with this before, knew of some cure. This news is very bad. We're at the breaking point.
Cowards. They're going to blockade us. They'll wait to see if the plague turns the city into a graveyard.
Are you okay, Mother? You seem sad.
Yes, don't worry, darling.
And basically the report that we gave to the Empress states that the city of Dunwall is going to be blocked and isolated from the rest of the land/kingdom, as this is like real life London and it is a fucking shithole, and as soon as things start going wrong with London, the entire country will abandon it, because I mean, it is a shithole and it's why I moved away from there. But the reason for this is because of the plague that is spreading throughout the city, and they are going to isolate it and stop trading and moving between it to hopefully stop the spread of the plague. But it seems that shit is starting to hit the fan rather quickly, and now some assassins come to attack the Empress. And we are quickly introduced to combat. And how is combat? I mean, it's alright. It's simple. You have a very simple parry mechanic that allows you to then go into a finishing blow. You have a couple of spells you can play with, a gun, and basic sword slaps and slashes. I mean, I'll be honest, the actual like physical stand and bang combat is about as simple as it gets. You can swing your sword and shoot your gun / use other items like the crossbow a bit later. It's just not very complicated, but it doesn't need to be, because the combat shouldn't be the main thing you're doing in this game. It's also going to have stealth blended into it, which means you don't need a super complex combat system, because that shouldn't be the main focus. If you make the combat too fun, people won't engage with the stealth if that is a level below it. So if the stealth is fairly simple, the combat should also follow suit as well, to make sure that both options feel about as equally as fun. But the problem is that these assassins are completely ruthless, and no matter how good you are at fighting them, eventually you will be overwhelmed.
Corvo, thank you. If you hadn't been here... No more! Not again!
Mommy!
No! Get away from her! Corvo!
Mommy! Get away!
Corvo, it's all coming apart. Find Emily. Protect her. You're the only one. You'll know what to do. Won't you? Corvo.
And our wife has just been killed and our daughter kidnapped. That is certainly a way to set up a game.
Ward us all. Look at what he's done.
Yes, he's killed the Empress.
And of course, we have been framed for it, and by the man obviously looking around, it's clear that these men have something to do with what just happened, and they don't want any witnesses seeing what actually just happened. The intro to Dishonored is good. It sets up a clear objective, and if the objective of saving our daughter isn't enough, they just killed the girl that we are perceived as our lover. So it also adds that level of revenge to the narrative as well, and it allows you to pick whichever one you deem more, I guess, important. Saving someone or getting revenge for someone else, which is good. It gives you a choice of what your target and your goal is going to be. Is it revenge against the people that killed her or saving your daughter? But I'm going to give a bit of a complaint here. Dishonored 1 in isolation, we don't know that Corvo loves the Empress. We don't know that Emily is his daughter. And I think this makes it a bit weaker. Genuinely, I think this needs to be stated. I also think we need to be given more time with the Empress, because to the player, we don't really know these characters. I understand why as a narrative point they did this. Corvo is a commoner, I think, and Jessamine, of course, is royalty. And in Victorian era society, or even old society back then, and even in some countries today, that is a big no-no. Commoners do not mix with royalty. Even in today's world, we see that now. How it worked, especially back in Victorian era, was that only other royal families or extremely high-ranking noble families who basically were just a level under the royal family would be the only ones that would marry each other. This, of course, led to a lot of inbreeding, because every fucking royal family was related to each other, because they were. If you don't know, for fun fact, there was actually 3 kings at one point that were all cousins. The King of Russia, the King of Germany, and the King of England, I think, were all cousins at one point. I can't remember. My history's a bit rusty. But inbreeding's always been a thing in the royal families. But if it did happen, if a royal family member had a relationship with a dirty commoner, it was scandalous, and they had to hide it. And that's clear what this is. It's a hidden relationship, and fun fact, this is still seen today in especially the English royal family. King Charles, our currently reigning monarch, his current wife was the one that he always wanted to marry, but because she was a commoner, he was basically forced into marrying Diana. I don't care about royalty. They're really not that important, but it's still there. Even with Harry and Meghan Markle. Meghan's a fucking commoner. Also, the royal family is probably heavily racist, I will be honest. It's still seen today, and I think now it's going to start breaking with especially the new generation, because the Queen, unfortunately, was a little bit old-fashioned when she was in power. But I really do think that this game needed to give us something to chew on. It really needed to display to us that there was a relationship between Corvo and Jessamine. Yes, there is a little bit, but it needs more. It needs explicitly telling us that they had a loving relationship in secret. Because it's a decent hook, but it could be better. That's basically what I'm saying. The hook's good enough, but I would love it to just really hook into you and really give you a good reason. Because I know some people, they wouldn't be on board with it all. Some people wouldn't care as much. Because again, they don't know the characters. But I will do some history building now for Dishonored. Well, lore building, I guess, for the Dishonored world. Corvo was assigned as Jessamine's royal protector when she took the throne at 12 years old. That is very young. Corvo at the time was 19, and I'm guessing was just a fresh recruit, most likely in probably the Royal Guard. Now, if you take the time and you do the math, again, time period for you is very interesting, and if you want me to scale it up to more appropriate ages, when Jessamine was 18, Corvo would be 25. And if you do the age of consent of the UK, which is 16, Corvo would have been 23. There is a rather big age gap there. I just wanted to highlight this because, again, this immediately tells me that this game is not going to shy away from, let's say, the issues of this era in many relation to how women were treated and especially how relationships were treated. A lot of young girls were forced into relationships with much older men, or much older men weaseled their way into relationships with much younger girls. And yeah, the age of consent in the UK is 16. So I'm going to leave that there. I don't agree with it, but I'm just going to leave it there. But let's carry on to our first mission now.
This is your final chance, Corvo. Sign the confession and let me give you the rights to put your spirit at ease.
That's enough for now. Get out. Let's give the man some time to think. Corvo, the Empress is dead. Her daughter Emily is hidden away, and no one will ever know the truth.
Yes, unlucky you. Tomorrow you'll be executed, but it's for a good cause. This country needs strong leadership now, someone to guide the weak. And that's where we come in.
There was nothing personal in this, even though you almost sank our plans. But it turned out well. You were in the wrong place at the right time, and someone has to take the fall. Goodbye, Corvo. Guards! Take him back to his cell.
Well, if it wasn't obvious, corruption is afoot. Who would have guessed by the UK government? And the government is not trustworthy. Again, who would have thought? The UK government. I promise I'm not going to get political this video, but the High Overseer and the Spy Master here are setting Corvo up as the fall guy, and he will get a public execution to show to the world that they killed the man that killed the Empress, so they can present themselves as the hero of the kingdom, and probably gain even more power. But because Corvo is not signing the confession, they might not be able to sell the whole story, because if Corvo doesn't admit to it, if he doesn't admit that he himself did it, some people might question it. Why would the royal protector who was assigned to the Empress decades ago at this point now kill her? So they keep interrogating us, trying to make us sign this confession, and the days go by, but one day we are given a meal by a friend. This meal not only contains a bit of grub, but also a Happy Meal toy in a key and a note. A note from a friend who has faith in us and believes that we are not the ones that killed the Empress. He doesn't trust the angry old men in government who scream about problems that are not really that big of a problem for the country, and are just trying to create discourse. That kind of reminds you of something, doesn't it? But this key allows us to get out of the cell, and on the table we can retrieve a sword and a bit of cash. And now we actually enter the game proper with our first, what I'm going to call, engagement. Engagements in this game have many different ways to deal with them. You can be sneaky beaky like and tiptoe your way through them, slipping past the guards, remaining undetected, or becoming a nightmare, slowly taking them out one by one, dragging them into the shadows and making them disappear. Or you can do the most Londoner way of doing it, brandish a large knife and stand there and bang. Yes, empty the contents of your pantaloons. Now, these are really the three main ways of doing everything in this game. You have full stealth, combat stealth, and chaos. And it's up to you to decide how you want to deal with every engagement and every individual that you meet. But choice is the key mechanic in Dishonored, the choice of how you will approach all of these situations. The choice that you have and the choice that you choose will change the world, and from this point on, we need to talk about what your choice in how you deal with people influences a certain mechanic, that being Dishonored's chaos level. The chaos level, think of it as the honor bar from Red Dead. Do bad thing, you lose points. Do good things, you gain points. But chaos is never really shoved in your face like the honor level is in Red Dead. Basically, at the end of each mission, you will earn a rating telling you your total current chaos level, being either high or low. There is no medium, I think, and there's no number that tells you what it is. And that's all you get in understanding what it is. And unfortunately, this leads to a lot of confusion about what this is. So I'll explain it the best way that I personally understood it. Every time you enter a level, you get a base chaos level. The lowest chaos level starts at, let's say, 0. And every action or thing that you do might influence this chaos level. It will increase it a little bit. Kill someone, increases it. Get spotted by a guard, increases it. Make stuff go bang and explode and hack shit and kill things and do whatever else. Body gets spotted, chaos increases. This leads to the score slowly increasing bit by bit, and eventually, once you hit a certain point, it will transition into high chaos. And once you hit high chaos, you cannot go back. You have to basically redo the level to try and hit a low chaos run. The general rule of thumb that I've seen online and in the community is that you can kill about 20% of the people that you meet, which means you can kill 1 in 5 people. That isn't just enemies like the guards, that includes random civilians, side quest givers, enemies in those side quests like gang members. So all of these actions and these enemies that you can kill will influence the chaos level and will lead to it increasing. But you might ask, what does chaos actually influence? Is it even worth worrying about? Well, chaos influences everything, from dialogue, from random NPCs, to how the missions play out, to the behaviors of actual guards themselves, to even the levels themselves having even more guards and different types of enemies in certain places, and even the world itself changes significantly, such as there being more rats in high chaos because you're leaving more bodies, so the rats come out to eat them, which leads to more different types of enemies appearing. Not only does the gameplay change, other characters are changed as well by your actions, and even the outcome of the game as well is completely changed by it as well. But the first area here, we have the objective of actually breaking out of jail, and it is a fairly straightforward part of the game. It's teaching you a lot of the basic key game mechanics like guard patrols, behaviors, keyholes, lights, shadows, detection, looting, healing, everything. Even teaching you something like how noise affects the world, as if you just start walking or running about, your fat ass will make loud footsteps and guards will hear it. So it just teaches you everything. Even the idea of trying to use a gun stealthily, you will quickly learn that the gun is very fucking loud and will attract every guard in the vicinity if you shoot someone with it. But making our way to the interrogation room, we can collect some keys and also the story that they were going to try sell to the public to justify Corvo's execution. But unsurprisingly, again, he would not sign a confession, so that they would basically have him say that the story was completely true because he didn't murder his beloved lass. Who would have thought that? But grabbing the actual keys that we're after, the explosives, we can quickly move through the yard and another hallway, and now we can blow open the main entrance and parkour our way down into the river and escape into the sewers, all while the guards are pursuing us. But now we enter the Dunwall sewers, and here we can see what the rats themselves are capable of.
Watch it.
They are some goddamn hungry boys, aren't they? But this sends us a clear warning about the rats. The rats in this game are ruthless. They will chew you and completely consume you if you let them. But they are also a key mechanic of the game. You can use the rats to your advantage by baiting enemies into them and force them to fight them for you, or have the rats kill them for you. But let's leave the boys for now, and having to dodge a couple more of the rat packs, we do a little puzzle involving said rats, and teaches us that we can use corpses to move rats around as well, and they might be in spots that we need to reach, so using bodies to move them makes it easier to get to the spots. But moving past them rats, we can find a message on the wall talking about the outsider walks among us. Whoever the outsider is. Who cares? And now we have to deal with random booby traps, which people have set up. And I thought the booby traps would be more common in the game. They're actually not that common, I think. I don't know, I didn't really run into them that much. They are in the sewer levels consistently and in a later level as well, but they're not that common. But they are a cool mechanic that I actually like, and they're actually quite hard to spot because a lot of the time I would accidentally just walk into them. But actually getting to the supplies that were left by us by our friend, we can obtain some item that our friend left us, who we don't actually know. But this includes a crossbow and a new blade, and a note that instructs us to find a Samuel on the river. There is a couple of enemies here, but there is not really much to mention. It's just more gameplay that allows you to test out the newly acquired crossbow, and also using the new drop assassination mechanic. The crossbow, by the way, is broken. It is one of the best items in this game because it allows you to kill enemies from a range silently, and combine that with a certain upgrade, it's almost broken and allows you to just run through levels so easily. But along our path we can find some discarded bodies and a PA system telling the world of our escape.
Attention, Dunwall citizens. The assassin Corvo, responsible for the murder of our fair empress and the disappearance.
So we should really hurry up and get moving and meet our new ally, Samuel.
Corvo, over here. Quickly, I'm a friend. I'm Samuel. And I work for some good people who want very much to meet you. They said you'd come out here. I can still hardly believe it. I'll take you to meet them. Just down the river from here.
And now we can head off to the main hub area and base of operations.
This is the Hound Pits pub. Closed for business. Half the district marked off as dead from the plague. We're right under the Lord Regent's nose, and he don't know a thing. Of course, if anyone finds out what we're up to, the Watch will break in with swords drawn. And now that you've escaped, the Lord Regent's going to be tearing the city apart. I'll take you up to meet Admiral Havelock and the rest of the Loyalists. The Admiral's a man to be reckoned with. If anyone can help you find that missing girl, Lady Emily, and clear your name, he can.
The Hound Pits pub is a pub of what is clearly a more industrial working class part of the city, which seemingly has been left to rot as the city is starting to completely collapse in on itself. But this location will provide the best place to hide out from the current Lord Regent and his guards. Those are the ones that are trying to kill us and frame us for the death of our beloved. And heading inside, we can meet two men who are going to help us out on our mission to restore the world to its natural order.
We can continue this later, Lord Pendleton. The man of the hour is here. Corvo, I'm Admiral Havelock, a true servant of the Empire, like you, until the Lord Regent purged those of us who wouldn't recognize his claim on the throne.
And I'm Lord Trevor Pendleton. I represent the nobility in our little group. But we all act as equals here at the Hound Pits pub.
This is a momentous occasion, Corvo. I'm going to come out with it. We've been building a coalition of loyalists, aimed at ending the Lord Regent's tyranny and restoring the throne.
At risk of execution, we're committed to finding young Lady Emily and seeing her crowned as Empress.
We've got big plans, but we can't do any of it without you. We need your skills, your ability in a fight, and in helping us, we're going to help you destroy the men who murdered the Empress.
Sorry, you must be exhausted. We can discuss this further after you've recovered. But before you retire, you should introduce yourself to Piero. He's challenging at times, but his industrious mind buys him that right.
Yes, Piero's as much an artist as a technician. He's going to be crafting the gear you'll need. Go talk to him and then get some sleep. We can talk more when you've rested.
These two fine fellows here are going to be some of our key accomplices in our quest. First is Lord Trevor Pendleton, and he is a high-ranking aristocrat, and he will use his connections and influence in the higher parts of society and the nobility to slowly influence them in order to protect the interests of the nobles and others, which include us. The other guy is Farley Havelock, an admiral from the Navy, and he was recently discharged due to refusing to sail under the orders of the new Lord Regent, Hiram Burrows, the previous royal spy master. He will act as sort of the main commanding chief and help guide us on what we should be doing and who we should be targeting. He will be the main mastermind and the main quest giver in the game. But we are also guided to meet with another man, a Piero. And Piero is certainly a character.
Crafting your weapons and gear, all custom work. For you, I will create the tools of a master assassin. No! This cannot happen now. The tank of whale oil is running. Will you get...
Piero will act as our main weapon/gearsmith and our main vendor in the game, and after helping him out by getting some more whale oil for him, he will give us our first gift, the Assassin Mask, which will basically give us the ability to zoom in. It's nothing too crazy, but from Piero we can also buy some other bits and bobs, from upgrades to our current gear, ammo, consumables and other knickknacks. But overall, Piero is actually a pretty limited vendor. And this is another complaint I kind of have. I don't know why. Money is really common in this game, and you'll be stealing almost everything that isn't nailed down, and you'll get thousands of coin per level. And what can you buy with said coin? Not a lot, really. There is really not a lot. There are some good upgrades, honestly, but a lot of them are really basic, like increase reload speed for your crossbow, increase accuracy, increase the amount of ammo you can hold or items you can hold, or just ammo in general. It feels cool at first, but like I thought more would be unlocked later, and you can find other blueprints later in the game to buy more, but they never felt like they were really game changing in any way. Like I thought we might be able to buy completely new items and new gear from him, but there isn't really a lot to buy from him. Some of the upgrades are really impactful. Like you can find a blueprint which makes it so that the noise from your running is completely removed, but that's kind of it. There isn't really that much else. And the problem as well is a lot of the items that you can buy from him, and the upgrades especially, they're tied to specific styles of gameplay. So for example, the gun upgrades, any gun upgrade, that's only for combat. If you're playing primarily in stealth, you will not use the gun. Grenades, same story. The crossbow, yeah, you can use in stealth, but it just feels like some are tied way too much to combat and others are way too tied to stealth. And this leads to, if you choose primarily to play in one over the other, it limits the potential and the value of money. And the thing is, it made me feel less encouraged to really explore and find money, because I knew a lot of the upgrades, especially later in the game that I had left, just weren't worth buying because I wouldn't benefit from them, because I was primarily trying to play the game in stealth as much as possible because that's what I find fun. And I feel like them allowing you to buy a certain item, runes, is a band-aid fix for this issue. Runes, if you want to know, are an item that will allow you to upgrade more supernatural abilities that you unlock later, which sounds good, sounds great. Slight problem again. The powers again run into the same issue of each power being more suited to one style of gameplay. I honestly think by the third, maybe fourth mission, if you don't collect all the coins, you can acquire all the upgrades that you will need for your specific playstyle. If you're playing just in stealth, you can probably get enough coin to get all the upgrades and abilities that you need to get the best stuff for your style of gameplay. Now, the one benefit of this vendor is, especially on repeat playthroughs, when you completely start again with no items, you're more informed of what you should be buying for the style you're going for. So when I say go to play more combat heavy and I want to do a full chaos run or a full psycho run, which just means you kill everyone, I'll know what I should be buying first. Gun upgrades, certain abilities that are more combat focused instead of the stealth stuff. But then on stealth, it's the same story. But I also think a big issue that I had is, at this point, we've pretty much got every item that we will be using, bar a few. There is a couple like the spring azure, the bloody like shrapnel mine, and the grenades. But there isn't a lot of gear in the game for us to play with. Like, little comment, how is there not a distraction tool in the game that you can throw and hold on to. I know you can pick up and throw bottles to distract enemies, but the fact that we can't get an item that does this same job for us is so odd to me. Yes, I know you can use the crossbow, like you shoot at a wall and it will alert enemies and drag them over. And I do have a kind of a complaint about this in a way, because that obviously aggroes them completely and they are aggressive at that point. They'll put out their sword and they'll be more on alert. That's a trade-off. That's good game design straight up. It makes the player, again, think about their actions. But even when playing through the game on stealth and stuff, I just feel like there isn't really any tools that are suited to stealth. It really does feel like the game was designed more as an action game, if that makes sense, like all the powers and everything, but they can be used in stealth. Like it feels like the stealth was like the second part of the game, not what I think they should have been equals. I do think the game does a really good job at balancing them overall, but I feel like the fact there isn't really anything that is useful in stealth, it does kind of make it a shame. If you want an example of what I think like the game could really use, the coin from Hitman is an obvious one. You fling a coin out, it moves the guards around and it allows you to play around them. But even something as simple as like, for example, Payday 2, the tripwire mines, you can set them to just have a sensor mode, and when a guard moves past it, it marks them for you and makes a noise to alert you to it. It's a really small thing, but it gives you an option and a tool that is mainly only for stealth, but that's also a good thing because it's a drawback. You have to bring it with you and everything. Obviously, I don't want that exact thing in Dishonored, but what I'm saying is it doesn't really feel like there's any tools that are only for stealth. In the DLC, by the way, like they have an item, the stun mine, which is kind of exactly what I think they needed in this base game, because you have the Springer's mine, the fucking lashing and fucking cut your head off mine, but you don't have a non-lethal option for that. You don't really want to be killing as much as possible, especially if you want to go for low chaos. Low chaos, I get it, it's meant to be something that you can't do as easily, but if you go in with the mindset of I'm going to kill as little as possible, the game feels so limited in what you can actually do. One of the worst things in stealth games, straight up, one of the worst things in it is where there's a guard patrolling and you have to sit there and wait for them to move back and forth, figure out what they want to do, but you have to wait for them to move in a direction so you can proceed past them. It's not challenging, it's not engaging, and it's not fun. It's just waiting. You might as well just put a fucking loading screen. It would be the same thing. So what a lot of stealth games do is they give you ways to move guards around. Metal Gear Solid with the fucking knock. Splinter Cell, same story with the whistle. Hitman, the coin. You have all these ways of doing it, but that's kind of what I want more, to be able to manipulate the guards, move them around, distract people, and all sorts like that. The main targets are great for this. You can do events that trigger them and make them move around, make them go to a different location so you can deal with them somewhere else. Amazingly well done. The level design as well for stealth feels amazing, like jumping along the chandeliers and along these like pipes and stuff. It's great. I think it's outstanding, and it is one of the best things about this game. And from a like level design standpoint, Dishonored's a masterpiece. It has some of the best levels I've ever seen in a video game. But it's just when I'm looking at a guard and I'm sitting there on a chandelier watching him, there is very few options I have to get around him without killing him. Yeah, I can bend time to slow it down, teleport past him and fuck off, or I can wait for him to move and go past him. But I feel like just something as simple as like, hey, there's this item over here, grand piano, clock, whatever, you can set it off so the guard will move over to it. The game lacks a lot of that. Despite it being an immersive sim, a lot of the items I thought would be interactable are in locations where they don't have any sort of effect on the guards. Can you do this? Yes. There is sometimes glass cases you can shoot with the crossbow, which will alert guards and make them move towards it, but it's the same effect of just shooting the crossbow at something else. I just wanted more. I think that's kind of what my problem is. I wanted more from the stealth system in general, in how I can mess around with the guards, mess around with the level, and how the level also interacts with the stealth system, because for the most part, it doesn't really interact with it. It just has pathways for you to maneuver through to achieve stealth. It's fine, but I think it could be improved a hell of a lot with some small additions and changes. And the fact that the bottles are extremely inconsistent led to a lot of frustrations in my playthrough, where I would throw a bottle and the guards would just ignore it completely. And I just wish we had an item that was more consistent at distracting the guards. I know this is something that is greatly improved in Dishonored 2, and that is the main praise of Dishonored 2, is it completely masters what the gameplay can be. But this was something that consistently kind of frustrated me throughout the game was the lack of gear specifically for stealth. There's almost nothing that you can really use in stealth, and especially if you're trying to kill as few people as possible, basically every item is worthless. This is a massive nitpick, I know, but I just wanted more. I think that is the main problem I had, especially with this vendor. There just isn't enough gear in the game to really benefit from this vendor, especially, again, in stealth, where you won't be using a lot of the gear in the game. You won't be throwing grenades everywhere, you won't be firing a lot of bullets, and you won't even be using the crossbow that much. The most I used was sleep darts, and they were basically the only thing I was buying because I had max bullets, grenades, everything at all times. But purchasing some bits and bobs, we can now head off, of course, for some sleepy time, but that is interrupted and we have the mandatory drug sequence that every game during this era had. But here we meet a very important individual, the Outsider.
Hello, Corvo. Your life has taken a turn, has it not? The Empress is dead. Her precious daughter Emily is lost somewhere in the city, and you will play a pivotal role in the days to come. For this I have chosen you and drawn you into the void. I am the Outsider, and this is my mark. There are forces in the world and beyond the world, great forces that men call magic, and now these forces will serve your will. Use this newfound power, my gift to you. Come find me.
The Outsider has selected us, Corvo, as he sees us as an individual of high importance, and he gifts us with his mark, which will grant us supernatural abilities, and here we get actual access to our first ability, Blink, which is a basic teleport ability, and this ability has insane potential, and I started to fairly quickly find ways to really break the stealth in this game using it. Most of the abilities in this game are fairly simple. They're not that insanely complex. They're all very standard things, but because of how an immersive sim is built up, the way you use these abilities means they can be as simple or as complex as you need them to be. Blink will completely change the way you play the game because what it gives you access to, which is the ability to teleport within certain distances wherever you want. This is so strong because not only can you use it to teleport to locations you couldn't reach before, you can also do what I started to do very quickly, which was teleport behind a guy, choke him out, pick him up, and then teleport away with him to go hide him somewhere. It makes stealth almost way faster, and I think this is one of the biggest benefits that Dishonored has, was these powers, because it makes the stealth so much more engaging, and it means that actually smart thinking and smart timing and doing some risky plays can actually lead to really satisfying gameplay that has insane potential. This is only one of the skills, and Blink completely changes the game entirely. But as we move along this path in this dreamlike state, we find all the key people that we will be targeting throughout the game in that order. We also see the effect that the change in the leadership of the country has led to, with us meeting the new soldiers that are being deployed across the Isles, the Tall Boys, displaying that the new Lord Regent is definitely ruling with an iron fist and is not as empathetic as the last Empress. But the general quality of life for the general population has dropped significantly and has led to their lives being way harder, with them being prosecuted against almost indiscriminately. Now at the end of this sequence we will again meet the Outsider again.
In the days that follow, your trials will be great, Corvo. Seek the ancient runes bearing my mark in the lonely places of your world, and at shrines raised in my name. These runes will grant you powers beyond those of other men.
I think we're gonna do it.
To help you find these runes, I give you this, the heart of a living thing, molded by my hands. With this heart, you will hear many secrets, and it will guide you toward my runes, no matter how they may be hidden. Listen to the heart now, and find another rune.
and he gifts us with an actual heart which has been modified and can be used to locate bone charms and runes spread throughout the world. But the more interesting use for this heart is that when you have it equipped, and if you point it at any target or location and use it, it will whisper secrets to you about said person or place in a rather familiar voice. Now for key characters, this adds a hell of a lot of story building and actually can tell us a lot about these characters and their pasts, and even can tell you if the people you're looking at are good or bad people. Even the generic characters scattered throughout the game have a stupid amount of lines recorded for them, and I tried to get the lines to repeat for different characters and I actually couldn't. There is so many that it's like a crazy amount. I did get it to repeat with certain characters. Certain characters have the same lines entirely, like basic women NPCs that are just walking around the levels. Some of them have the same ones, but there is still a stupid amount of lines, and if you're not sitting there spamming the lines over and over, it probably won't ever repeat for you. There's probably enough lines for every NPC in the game to have a unique line. It's such a cool mechanic and I love it, and it adds so much world building to the world. But this heart can actually help justify to you maybe your actions you're taking. Maybe it justifies you killing that one guard because he's not exactly a good person. One of the first guards you meet, one of the lines that the heart will state to you is that this guard was recently released from prison because the city guard was so desperate for new recruits, they were using anyone they could get their hands on. I'm sure there isn't anything bad about that, but it does help to not only fill the world out and build up the lore and the world building, but also can tell you who you should be targeting and maybe who you should avoid killing. But not only do you get this heart that fills in the world's lore and builds up its characters, this game again is an immersive sim, meaning that all NPCs and enemies have some form of schedule that they have to follow. They have paths and things that they do along said path that they do on a loop or at a schedule. And throughout that, they can talk to themselves, they can talk to each other, they can do certain actions like have a piss on the floor, which reveal even more about their lives and the state of the world itself. And it just makes the game that much better. A lot of the guards and even NPCs that you'll run into will be talking about things of them not wanting to do what they're doing anymore, not enjoying life, feeling like their lives are getting harder and they're getting sicker, and they're all unique. They all have their own stories that they talk about, and all the NPCs have a schedule. They all have unique paths and they all have unique things that they do in the level. But a lot of the guards that you'll meet will express that they feel like they are forced into this job because they need the money that badly. And it makes it even more tragic when you jump down on them and impale them with your blade. It's something that a game like The Last of Us 2 did somewhat well, with the characters expressing emotions and talking to each other and calling out their names. Problem with that in The Last of Us 2, a lot of the time you are forced to kill them, but here you get the choice. So you might kill a guy who was talking about like his wife and child, and you just killed him, and now his wife and child don't have their father anymore. It's a really great way to really make you think about what you're doing, and it's something a lot of games really struggle to do, and Dishonored does it so easily. Dishonored's greatest strength above its story and gameplay is how everything in the world is used to build it up. It uses everything that this game has to offer to build the world up. Every character, every line of dialogue, every location, even the actions you do all change and build the world up and fill it with even more rich lore. Throughout the entire game, there is hundreds of notes and diary entries and journals, all sorts that you can find that fill in the world's history. It tells you people's recollections of what's been happening, how the guards have been more aggressive than them, how things have been taken from them, how family members have been put in jail or killed. It just adds so much world building, and it's crazy to see that a game like this was given this much time to write such a complex story. Dishonored is honestly quite a short game. Despite saying it takes 20 hours to beat, my first run took me 8.5, but that's what immersive sims are really strong at. They are overall short games in concept, but because of how much shit there is in the game, you can spend 15, 20, 30 hours. I can imagine you spending like 50 hours in this game, spending like 10 hours per level if you're reading every note, collecting every item, investigating what everyone's doing and trying to figure out a way to not kill them. It's one of the most densely packed games probably ever made, but that's what an immersive sim game is. They are densely packed because they need to account for players interacting with everything in any way that they can think of. We have so many tools and we have so many ways of interacting with the world that every order and combination and how we approach it, what angle we do it at, needs to be accounted for. And that's one of the biggest strengths of immersive sims. Even when you beat a level, you might want to replay it. And even replaying it, it won't feel the same because you'll be doing it in a different way. And that's another fun part. These levels can be as long or as short as you want them to. If you want to just blitz through the game, scrapping and banging, or just darting straight for the objective, you can do that. There is nothing wrong with doing that. Yes, it does make the game significantly shorter, but you're still technically playing the game. But the game heavily rewards you for going out of your way to investigate side areas and find items and upgrades. And talking about upgrades, with our heart we can run along and grab our first upgrade item, our first rune. Runes are used to obtain powers, and from these powers have unique effects that are either active, you have to use them, or are passive, meaning that they're always on. So what are each of the powers? Blink we already have, but we can spend some more runes to upgrade it, and all powers have a second upgrade and enhance them in some way. Some more drastically and some not as. Let's talk about each power. First up, the one that you're probably going to buy with this first rune is Dark Vision. Basically Batman's detective vision, being able to highlight NPCs, and upgrading it you'll be able to see all collectible items and key items in your vision. It also helps to see in the dark as well. This ability is basically essential, and it's almost a detrimental aspect of this game because you kind of need to always use it. And one thing I really like about Dishonored is its visuals, and the problem is when you're using dark vision, it gives it this sort of tint to it, which means you can't really see the art style that well. And the fact that it feels like you have to always use this so you can track enemies, find items, and not get jump scared every 5 seconds by a guard walking in on you as you're doing something you shouldn't. It kind of feels annoying to have to use it all the time. And also, it makes a really annoying noise.
I told you the nights go on.
Possession allows you to take control of an animal or human when it's upgraded, and then move around in said entity, and then teleport to the place they are located in once you end the possession. It's a decent ability that allows you to move around the map more freely when using it and not be spotted by guards, but I'll be honest, I didn't use it too often. It does feel fun and it is good to use and can allow you to get into some areas more easily, but it feels incredibly situational when you can use it in a fun method. There are little rat holes you can run through with a rat, but I feel like they're not that useful overall. I feel like something like Blink is so much more easily usable and can be used in almost every situation, whereas this can only be used in one. I found myself not really using it that often. On the other hand though, Bend Time is the best ability in the game. This allows you to slow time entirely, or when it's upgrade, freeze time. This allows you to move around enemies in stealth really fast, or in combat you can set up 4 sleep darts in succession while bend time is activated, and you can knock them out all at once. It is completely broken because you move around so fast that you're not spotted by enemies unless you are directly in front of them. Pretty much the best way to explain it is you can do a Quicksilver from the X-Men films and just run around and mess around with the people as much as you want. You can knock people out, kill them, do everything. The crossbow is extremely broken when combined with bend time because you can shoot so many crossbow bolts before the ability actually runs out. So you can either kill or knock out guards simultaneously within seconds of each other. Devouring Swarm allows you to summon a swarm of rats to attack people. A simple but fun ability that can be used to cause a little bit of chaos or a big distraction when you need to divert enemy attention. And it's alright. It's not great, because it doesn't feel consistently good at like actually distracting enemies, because sometimes enemies will just ignore the rats and just let their friends be eaten to death. So it's not that great, especially in stealth, and when you use it, it makes all the guards be on alert and start patrolling more aggressively. But then you have Wind Dash, Wind Blast, which allows you to force rodar people away from you. It's fairly useful, and in combat, it's really useful because you can just get an enemy to back off of you. You can also use it to destroy objects and doors, but it's lethal, so it can't really be used in stealth to knock out an enemy, which I thought would have been really fun to do, to just push an enemy into a wall and knock them out. But it doesn't knock them out, it kills them. And the next 4 are 4 passive abilities. Vitality, you increase health, pretty simple. Bloodthirst allows you to build up adrenaline, which then once you build up said adrenaline, you can trigger a finisher on an enemy by trading the adrenaline for it. Agility increases jump height and then also decreases falling damage. And then Shadow Kill will turn bodies into ash once you kill people if they don't notice you. If you upgrade it, it will make every person you kill turn to ash. These enhancements are all fairly good, with 2 of them being more stealth orientated and 2 being more combat orientated. They are simple, but they do change how you play and can drastically help you in some way. With agility, for example, allowing you to get and jump to new areas you would not have been able to reach before. And agility, by the way, is essential in my eyes. I really do like the upgrade system in this game. Each upgrade feels impactful for either combat or stealth, and each ability changes and gives you significantly more options in all situations that you will encounter. And they also change the way that you approach the game entirely. That is an inherent trait of immersive sims. These simple skills and abilities or items, they're simple, but how they interact with the rest of the game completely change it up. But using our rune for dark vision, as that is all we can afford at the moment, the outsider tells us that he will watch us as we continue our story. And now we head back to the Hound Pits pub and actually wake up in reality, and now can immediately start collecting items scattered around, like a lot of bone charms in our room. And I think this might be a DLC thing, but we'll go over bone charms now. Bone charms are like small little benefits. They're not as significant as the upgrades with runes, but they're slight upgrades that you can equip to give small bonuses, such as an increase to damage with your sword, increased swim speed, increased sight when you're looking through a keyhole. They're not these insanely big boons, but you can use them and change them to better suit your gameplay style. And all of them are obviously tied between either more combat stuff or more stealth or traversal. But now we go around and explore the Hound Pits pub, and this might be one of the best depictions I've actually seen of a traditional pub in a game. It's got that grime to it like a proper good Spoons does, where if you walk along the carpet it's sticky for some reason. And I love the pub. It just oozes personality and history, and all the notes and audio logs that you can find just fill in the history of it all. And I find it crazy that a game from 2012 has a more pub-like pub than a game that released 8 years later. Because man, Watch Dogs Legion was such a fucking shame. But meeting back up with the Admiral, he will inform us of our first target.
Well, let's get down to it. First off, I know that assassination is dark business, but sometimes good men have to do bad things to make the world right. Our purpose is clear. We want to restore Her Majesty's line by finding and putting Emily Caldwin on the throne. To those ends, we'll hide, act in shadow, take them apart, piece by piece. Tonight, High Overseer Campbell dies by your hand. It won't be easy. He's protected by his overseers, an army of religious zealots. But if anyone can do it, you can. Your exploits are legendary. Campbell carries a private journal. Once you've eliminated him, get the journal, because we think it contains Emily's location. Recovering her is obviously critical, assuming she's alive. That's the gist of it. Remember our cause and strike true. We're counting on you. Another thing. Campbell is holding a former overseer by the name of Martin. He's one of us, and if you manage to find him, give him whatever help you can. He's a master strategist, and he got caught working for our cause. It'd be good to have him back here at the Hound Pits.
So Corvo is now being thrust into his new role. No longer is he a protector, but an aggressor, an assassin, with his first target being the High Overseer Campbell, and this was one of the blokes that we saw when our wife was killed. So our reasons, even if we don't care about the whole politics side of it all, we still have a reason on a personal level. But after eliminating him, we are to retrieve a book from him, which is a journal which will give much of the information that we need in order to find Emily. But before we head out, we are interrupted by Callista.
Corvo. Hello. I'm Callista. I work here for Admiral Havelock. I'm sorry to intrude on your business, but this is important. I suspect you're going to kill the High Overseer. That wretched man. There's really no reason for you to listen to me, but my uncle, Jeff Kernow, still serves as captain in the City Watch. But he's a good man, and my only family. The chatter in servant circles is that Campbell just took delivery of an exotic poison, and I think I know why. My uncle's not corruptible like the rest of them. Campbell is going to poison my uncle. Do you think you could protect him? You used to do that, right? Before you had your current profession. Before you became an assassin.
And she requests from us to not kill her uncle and save him from a potential assassination attempt, as by her words, he is a man that isn't easily corrupted, but she also reinforces the idea I mentioned. We were once a protector, and now we've been thrust into the role of an assassin, and this should make you question the way you approach this mission. Yes, we can kill everyone that we see, but is that truly the man that we are, and should we let the thought of revenge, vengeance, or just the thrill and influence of the powers we have gained change us? Should we maintain some level of morals and civility in our missions, or should we steep to the level as those who used brute force and blades to get what they want? And I think this is really what Dishonored wants you to think about. Should we force our way in with an iron fist and kill and execute the people that get in our way? Will we force our way and force the world to become the world that we want it to? Is that the message that we want to send to the people? Do we want to become the very people we are standing against? But this theme itself and question to the player is perfect for an immersive sim, and to me it's what has kind of been lost in games recently, with a lack of a better word for it being most games are extremely safe now. They're not willing to be more unique and really explore more complex themes, and they don't want to try to be unique. They're not trying to stand out, they're trying to chase trends. And this is what I love about Dishonored. It's unwavering in what it is, and we don't really get that now. I mean, occasionally we do, but man, the last game that really was super unique, I can't even think back to. Like, most games that I've played recently are all fairly similar or are very clearly inspired by other games. But this is what games were like during the 360 and PS3 generation, as they needed to be like this. Yes, games obviously copied each other. You had like the GTA clones, the COD clones, but a lot of games that were made by big AAA developers were unique in some way. And I think that's been lost in recent years because developers are so scared of making games that won't sell well. And they have to follow and trace trends because that's what sells well. But Callista here provides us with our first side objective, and also we also got another side objective from the Admiral, which isn't really a side objective. It's basically a main objective that is positioned as a side objective. But it's clear that throughout these missions that these small side missions will pop up here and there for us to engage with and can change the way that the mission plays. Now, before heading out, we of course grab some bits from Piero and then actually set sail with Samuel on the fucking Thames and make our way to the
It'll be a rough trip. Used to be to go straight up Clavering Boulevard, but now it's not so easy. Half the city's dead of the plague. The other half's fighting over what's left. City Watch still holds the bigger streets, and they've set up those wall of light checkpoints. Man walks through one of those and he ends up burned to a crisp. Everything not controlled by the City Watch is gang territory. Then there are the real odd birds living on the fringes like that Granny Rags. They say she's nuts. I don't know which is worse. You just take your pick.
Fun fact, London had a lot of distilleries constructed during the gin craze in the 18th century following the ascension of William the Orange, or King William III of England. Why was he called William the Orange? I actually don't know. Why were lots of distilleries made? Well, basically the English and French got into a little spat. That's nothing unusual. And the English no longer wanted to import French brandy. So they set up distilleries in their capital city, London, and many other cities as well. And they started to produce a shit ton of gin, as that was a fairly easy one to make, and also a lot of the higher noble families enjoyed it. And to this day, gin is still an extremely popular drink, and I think it is the most common drink for women. It's what most guys buy for girls at a bar in UK. They'll buy them a G&T thinking that's their drink of choice. A lot of girls do like it, even men do like it. I'm not saying it's a woman's drink, but it's a very woman-loved drink. But during the Victorian era, gin had a resurgence due to law changes that were made, and producing alcohol was significantly easier because, of course, technology had advanced significantly, and with laws being significantly looser, we had the rise of gin being produced a hell of a lot. Peaky Blinders, which was set sometime around this era when gin was big, you see in that there's an entire arc where there's like gin producers and they take it over. That was a thing. There was like these big gin gangs and they would produce these like gin palaces, which would have so much gin that they were like millionaires basically. But alcohol is as English as spotted dick, fish and chips, cottage pie, shepherd's pie. It's extremely English, and hey, spotted dick also comes from the Victorian era, but I think it's a very important thing that you should establish in a game that is very clearly inspired by England. England's drinking culture is a very big thing, and it has led to a lot of issues in terms of things like crime, especially during these eras. But docking along the river, we are actually allowed into the level, and here you are basically set free. You can do as you please. This first guy you meet on the riverbank, kill him, sneak past him, aggro him, do whatever you want. You can do anything you want at this point. But from this point, we are given our very first obstacle and objective to get around. The Wall of Light, a gate which is heavily guarded and has a hell of a lot of lights around it. And we are given this simple instruction: get past it. So there's obviously many ways we can do this. We can find a way to parkour over it, we can find a rat tunnel to go under it, we can fight our way straight through it, or we can even take to the back streets and find an alternative route around it. There is a lot of options and ways that you can approach this, and you can do it in however you see fit. And the game really wants you to explore as much as possible and weigh up your options and then go for it. It wants you to plan, then attack. Now, this is a cool setup. I like the idea. I think it's really well done. There is one problem I have with it though. Right next to it, on both sides of the wall, is a simple parkour path which allows you to just run up, scale the wall, and hop over it. It's a very obvious thing that's just there, and I feel like that takes away from the idea of actually trying to figure out a way past the wall when there is a solution right next to it and it's right there. It's like if you were given a test and there was a multiple choice answer and all of the answers are right, but you had the cheat sheet and one of them said that this was the correct answer. Yeah, technically all the other answers are right, but if that one's right there, you're going to feel almost encouraged to do that answer, to use this method to get over the wall. This is a massive nitpick by me, genuinely, but I feel like this simple path here that is right next to the wall, I think the game would have been significantly improved if you just removed it. Just got rid of it and made us actually try figure out how to get around it. Make it more complex, because the problem is, it's not really a problem. Yeah, there is a perceived problem, but the answer's right there and you can get over it significantly easier. And also, you can just blink over it. If you jump on the second box, you can just blink to the top of the wall and jump over. Now, in my opinion, the second gate, because you get over the first one and then we have a second gate to get over, is significantly better done. There is no obvious path over. There is no easy way through it. You really do have to find a way through it. You can, again, take the back streets and find another way around. You can fight through it, or you can do what I did and blink around onto the light posts, onto signs, and then blink on top of the wall to get over it. Blink is extremely broken. It's so strong and it will break this game in half as long as you think about how you use it. But getting past that, I quickly ran around and collected quite a few of the collectibles and also met Granny Rags, who gives us a side quest that we can do to help her not get assaulted by the local hooligans. And she will be a significant side quest that we follow throughout the game. And her story is that she was once a woman that many high-class men were very fond of and wanted to marry. But she ended up here somehow marrying someone that she probably shouldn't have, considering her class. But dealing with all of that, we can meet the outsider again.
Be careful, Corvo. They call her Granny Rags. You wouldn't recognize her real name, or even the name of her family, but an emperor begged for her hand once, and rich young men fought each other for her favor. I watched her consider them all, measure their worth, and find them wanting. Then, she made a different choice. You're on your way to face the High Overseer, the leader of a great cult dedicated to loathing me. What will you do, I wonder?
How interesting, but leaving Granny Rags and heading around the corner, we can find an older gentleman being harassed, and saving him, we get access to a vendor in the level, allowing you to buy items from Griff's shop. Now, Griff's is quite a bit more expensive than Piero, but the benefit of this is that you get access to a vendor in the mission when you need the items. Also, he has a couple of blueprints that are really worth picking up. But I like this because it gives you an option of being able to buy stuff for a higher price, but the benefits and drawbacks of doing that are very clear. The drawbacks are if you buy it now, you're basically wasting money, but the benefits are you can buy them in missions, so you can actually get the stuff you need right now when you need them. But leaving him, we are given a pointer to head to Dr. Galvani's office to retrieve a sample of an infected rat for Granny Rags. And this is an entirely optional objective given to us. This one decision that we made to help Granny Rags has opened up an entire side mission in the mission as well. It has a whole new story with us infiltrating this flat, grabbing the rat specimen, and then taking that specimen over to the Dunwall whiskey distillery, and then using that said infected rat specimen on the Bottle Gang's new bootleg elixir that they have been developing. And then once we do that, we can head back to Granny Rags to receive our gift. It was an entirely optional objective, but this one quest, if you do or don't do it, will open up paths in future missions that will be either accessible or non-accessible to you. And this again, one of the strengths of Dishonored. You can do as much or as little as you want. You can help and do all these little excursions that give you some sort of benefit, be it money, ammo, upgrades, future options in other missions, or even favors from certain characters. All of them are worth your time or not if you don't want to do them. You can still complete the entire game without doing any of these things. It just gives you more options, and being able to choose is the fun of Dishonored. But getting over the second wall of light, we can actually make our way to Holger Square, and here immediately we can find our secondary objective, Overseer Martin, that was given to us by the Admiral. Now you can very quickly save him, or not, I think. I think you have to, or you just get a game over, because it's kind of a very essential character to the story. But quickly saving him, he takes off and returns to the pub, and now we head past him and now actually start our hunt for Overseer Campbell, and we have to infiltrate this building here, which I'm guessing is kind of like the Parliament building. Or it kind of looks a bit like Buckingham Palace to me. I don't know why. It might just be the white walls and stuff that remind me of it. But there is a lot of ways, obviously, to infiltrate this building. And overall, I really like this level. It's this big building with these long hallways that have all these interconnected rooms that you can dart between to avoid guards, and it's fun. But here we can find instructions for a way to remove the High Overseer from his position without killing him, and that is with the Heretic's brand. And if we brand him with this, he will then be arrested and removed from the position of High Overseer. Each target that we meet throughout the game will have a way to deal with them non-lethally, because it is possible to not kill a single person in your playthrough. And I really like this. Again, it adds a level of challenge to the game, and when you go for like the perfect stealth run, which is you don't get detected, you don't kill anyone, it's really fun to try figure it out, and it turns these levels from what can just be these fighting engagements and combat stealth engagements into these massive puzzles with loads of moving parts to them. You can play Dishonored like a traditional stealth game a la Metal Gear Solid and Splinter Cell, the games that I love. It just makes it more fun to engage with. But heading into the meeting room, we can reach a point where we need to remove Campbell from his position and save Kernro, Callista's uncle. And there is a few ways, of course, you can go around doing this. Now, currently, Kernro's drink has been poisoned, and we have to choose a way to deal with this. We can either poison both drinks and kill both of them, swap the drinks and poison High Overseer Campbell, or just spill the drinks so we can make sure that they both don't drink it at all if you want to deal with them both non-lethally. So what did I do? Well, I spilt the drinks, which caused them to move out of the room and separate them, and it allowed me to actually eliminate Campbell. And here I did just shoot him with a crossbow because I wasn't going for the no-kill part just quite yet. Also, for some reason, my brain was having a fart. I don't know why. I think it's because it was 2 in the morning, and for some reason, I got Callista's uncle and Campbell mixed up. I thought Campbell was her uncle, and I couldn't understand why I would want to switch the poison to Campbell's drink, because I thought that was Callista's uncle. I was really stupid at this point in the night. But eliminating him, we can now make our way out of the mission, or you can further explore more of the areas and collect more items that you might have missed. But there isn't really a lot else for me to actually talk about, so overall, we complete the first mission, and the first mission is really good. It introduces you to a lot of how the game is going to play in a much more simple way without too much complexity. It allows you to get really accustomed to the game's mechanics without throwing too much shit at you at this point. we've only really met the basic guards. You can meet some dog enemies, a few rats here and there, but it's pretty much just teaching you how the game works as a whole. Yes, there's a lot more freedom to it, but it's teaching you about that freedom without letting the rails come off fully yet. There is still a level of guidedness at this stage in the game. But heading back to Samuel, we can return to the Hound Pit and we can report our success to everyone for each of their quests.
You did it! Somehow you took down the High Overseer Campbell against the odds. I knew you were our man, Corvo. With Campbell gone, we've hurt the Lord Regent immeasurably. And with Martin back, we'll have the finest strategist alive.
The Lord Regent must be shitting himself in Dunwall Tower.
Yes, and Campbell's journal, let's not forget. Our hope is that in these encoded pages, the location and condition of Emily Caldwin can be discovered. Our entire movement will mean nothing if we can't place the rightful heir on the throne. We must act fast. No doubt the Lord Regent is holding Emily somewhere, waiting to reveal her, to step out as the hero and further cement his regency.
If he doesn't bring the young lady forth soon, there will be infighting among the nobles as to who should succeed the Empress.
Yes, time is against us. But now you should take a well-earned rest, Corvo. We will decipher the contents of the High Overseer's journal and share them with you later.
So in that journal, they hope to find the location of Emily, who of course is the rightful heir to the throne. But for now, we have a kip as they decide that they're going to investigate it and try to figure out what is in the journal. But we wake up and then we have some errands to do around the pub, mainly dealing with some weepers who are random people who have been completely infested with the plague and have gone absolutely crazy. But dealing with the ones in the sewers, however you see fit, either by killing them or by knocking them out, you can inform the person who requested you to do this, and then we move on to our next objective.
Trust you remember Martin, an overseer before, and perhaps again someday soon.
I owe you thanks for my rescue.
Indeed. You've given us a glimmer of hope, Corvo. Because we've gotten what we wanted from Campbell's journal. You've done it. We know where Emily Caldwin is being held.
The Golden Cat, of all places. A bathhouse for aristocrats. Little better than a cursed brothel.
But there's an unfortunate twist. It appears that Pendleton's own kinsmen stand in our way. The twins, Morgan and Custis. Not only are they controlling Emily, but they have the controlling parliamentary votes we so desperately need.
Yes, the Pendletons have to die. But most importantly, Emily must be brought here safely so we can protect her until the Lord Regent and his entourage have been dealt with.
Well, our next target are the Pendleton twins, the two older brothers to the Lord Pendleton that we know, as killing them or eliminating them will allow our Lord Pendleton to take their place in Parliament and influence the government and nobility, preventing the Lord Regent from obtaining complete control over the city, as he will get the nobles on his side. But also, we have learned the location of Emily and believe that where the Pendletons currently are, the Golden Cat, will have more information about where Emily is. So we have two objectives that co-assign with each other at our next location. So now we head on out to...
I'll get you as close as I can to the Golden Cat, Corvo. You'll have to go the rest of the way on your own. The entrance is near Holger Square. The main thing is to make sure that little girl, Emily, gets back all safe and sure. Them two Pendletons are there, so I'm guessing there'll be a lot of guards. Slackjaw might have some ideas on helping you get inside the cat, if he don't kill you. This here's his territory. He and his Bottle Street gang hole up at the old Dunwall whiskey factory. They sell the elixir that folks use to fight off the plague. I'll lay low, but keep an eye out for you and the little lady you bring him back. Good luck to you. I know Emily must mean a lot to you.
Now for the second mission, Samuel will get us as close as possible to the Golden Cat. It means that we start in the exact same location in the distillery district, and we have to navigate our way through it again. But what is most interesting about this is that we can immediately see changes that have occurred within the city, which are influenced by your level of chaos. We start to see more guards patrolling, and also guards will reference things that happened in previous missions. So if you went absolute batshit crazy in the last mission, guards will be more on edge and will be mentioning your exploits. Also, a high level of chaos has led to more rats appearing and also will lead to certain people being infected with the plague. Pretty much, the level of chaos will completely change the world in some way, even minute things. To make a long story short, basically, if you have a current high chaos level, when you enter missions, there will be significantly more guards on patrol, and they will be more rigid in their patrol, I think. The reason I say I think is because when I was doing low chaos as well, they stuck to the same paths, but they would often have slightly different behaviors. I'm not saying they wouldn't do these behaviors, but they seem to do them less often. Guards on low chaos often seem to goof off, go for a piss, have a chin wag with their mate, but on high chaos they're more on alert. They'll talk to their friends, but about what you've been doing and how they need to be wary of you. Also, it seems on high chaos that more often than not, they will take what I've kind of dubbed as a more active patrol. Enemies sometimes when you aggro them won't see you, but they'll know that you're there. So they'll pull out their sword and just start wandering around, breaking their standard pathing, making them more difficult to deal with. This makes actually trying to predict their pathing and move around them way more difficult, and on high chaos it seems to happen more easily. If you trigger a guard, they very rarely will go back to their original pathing. You'll often hear guards say, "Oh, it must have been rats," if they thought they saw you. But on high chaos, I noticed that they often wouldn't do this. They would just keep moving around and not unaggro from me. They basically knew I was there and they kept trying to find me. It shows that the level of chaos does influence a lot of shit, and it makes the game way more complex, and I actually will be honest, it's been very hard to put the game down because I've been replaying it quite a bit. But pretty much what this leads to is on high chaos, it makes stealth a hell of a lot harder because the guards are way more aggressive in their patrols and they are way more on alert as well. But also, it adds to that world building. Your actions themselves are world building in a way. You yourself are affecting the world so much that your actions are affecting these normal people. They will mention what you did in the previous level. I'm surprised one of them didn't mention a character that I killed who was a random guard who was their mate, because I could have imagined them doing something like that. But it really does make you think about what you're doing. But not only that, more stuff starts to get added as well. More guards as well as new kinds of things to try attack you with. And one of them big changes that you'll notice in this mission will be a new type of contraption that will be in place to deal with you, that being the watchtower. The watchtowers are a sentry turret, basically, that shoots rockets at you if they spot you. And also some civilians are on the receiving end of said rockets. And they're really fun. I think they're a great addition, and you can deal with them however you see fit. You can avoid them entirely, jump on top of them, parkouring your way up to remove the whale oil from them, to remove the power from them, or what I think is the most fun, hack them and they will turn on the guards themselves and start shooting the guards. They are extremely dangerous, and if you're in high chaos, utilize them because they do cause a hell of a lot of chaos. But apart from that, we can also see some new enemies popping up, like these assassins who will randomly pop up, and of course some weepers in high chaos because your actions have led to more rats appearing, meaning the plague is spreading more. All of your actions have consequences and you should think about all of your actions. Now for mission 2, Slackjaw will provide us with a side objective, as his bootleg elixir has gone bad and his men have become sick and can no longer help him deal with what he needs doing. Hey, it's almost like we did that and now this has led to a completely new side quest that would not be accessible if we didn't do an action in the previous mission. Again, actions have consequences. Your choices have consequences. But he offers us a way into the Golden Cat that is more discreet and will allow us to take out the targets in a non-lethal method, but it's extremely long. It will take you significantly longer to do this, and it is more complex, with you having to still infiltrate the Golden Cat, but then double back in a way. Now I could go over the whole side quest, and I did do it all, and it has you go back to Dr. Galvani's quest to find out what happened to one of his men. But I'm going to be honest, it's completely optional, and I didn't actually use this quest. I did this mission lethally, so I didn't actually use what I gained from doing it. But let's actually make our way to the Golden Cat, and this might be my favorite level in the entire game. It's a close call between two, but for the general stealth gameplay, the bread and butter of Dishonored, I think this level is the best this game has to offer. and truly shows what it can be. While the first mission and target was a bit simple, this area is complex, filled with people, not only guards but also civilians, and in my eyes has one of the best laid out areas in the game. There is so many different pathways and ways you can traverse through it. It's just a playground. The Golden Cat has a stupid amount of ways that you can approach it in whatever way you want, and at this point you'll probably have access to a few more powers if you've done your job and scavenged the runes, so you'll have more powers and gadgets to also play with and experiment heavily with. But what is the biggest strength of this mission is that it has 3 main objectives. You have the 2 targets, the 2 twins that we have to eliminate, but also figuring out and rescuing Emily. That itself makes it one of the most engaging levels due to the multiple objectives that are within it. Then throw in the possible side objective that you have. You've got a stupid complex level that has so many options available to you. So to deal with the Pendletons, you can do it in multiple ways. You can obviously do the side quest that then allows you to send them to the very mines that they themselves profit from and allow them to live the lifestyle that they do, or you can just kill them the normal way, dispose of their body, throw them in the river. But what I also love about this level, and why I think it is significantly better than every other level in the game, is that it's a good reflection into what life was like in this era in a world like this, in Victorian England era, especially for women. In a Victorian styled society like this, sexism against women was deeply institutionalized and a part of all facets of life. Women were restricted, controlled, and often almost completely viewed as a being that belonged to someone or something. Women often didn't have really any economic opportunities during an era like this, and especially in the lower classes, you either worked in a factory, a basic shop, or in a brothel like this. Victorian culture as well viewed sex work as a great evil, but it wasn't illegal, but it was a sin, it was evil, it was dirty, it was disgusting, it was against God as well. Sex before marriage is bad if you don't know. But many men of power and of great wealth and status would happily engage with these businesses and ask them to stay hush-hush as long as that money kept flowing. And here we see that very thing. The Pendleton twins are engaging with this business even though they themselves are high wealthy nobles who have significant influence in Parliament. They themselves know what they are doing is evil, but hey, that apple on that tree tastes ever so sweet despite it being a sin. But not only do we have that, the many guards that as well are engaging with these women and this business, getting drunk and high out of their minds and forcing themselves upon the women, does kind of show you what society was like back then. And I think this is a theme that Dishonored really wants to raise towards us. It wants to show you front and center this world, what life was like back then, but also now in some countries, how oppressed women were, so just widely, how women were so oppressed completely in society. Despite the late Empress being a woman herself, most women were still forced into positions and professions where they were not comfortable. Most were forced into being mothers even if they didn't want to. Some felt forced into sex work because they couldn't get a job in a factory or a shop because they weren't good enough for said job, because they didn't work fast enough, because they weren't pretty enough. That is a real thing if you want to know. Shop work. Pretty girls, they do better on tills. I'm not even joking. It's a very sad thing because people don't feel like they're taking as long because, hey, if you've got a pretty face, you're not that bad to look at, are you? Very sad, very, very sad. But even in the mission, we can hear all the girls in this establishment all complaining about the job that they have to fill. They all complain about the services that they have to provide. They have no choice in it. They have to get a drink when they're told to. They have to entertain the men when they're told to. They have to undress when they're told to. They don't get a choice in it, and that is what life was like during this era. Women didn't have a choice. Women were owned by their fathers, and then once they were married, they were basically sold off to their husband, which I don't think I need to tell you is a bad thing. People should be allowed to have liberty and choose who they want to be and do what they want to do within reason, of course. The law is still there to keep us separate from the animals. Humans have some sort of civility, as you know. But I think it kind of just makes the world feel a lot more real and desperate. People are still like this, and we're seeing a rising sentiment amongst young men in this style. I knew people, I was friends with people that still share this sentiment that women are worse. They don't deserve to have the rights of men, and that they just should stay in the kitchen, yada, yada, yada. And it's kind of sad in a way that people have gotten to this point where they believe this, that they think this is the way forward. I think it's a scary thought pattern, and if you are having these thought patterns, I heavily challenge you to really think and really challenge yourself in why you think these ways. Is it because something happened to you? Is it because you don't believe? Is it because you're being told it by someone else, or an influencer has convinced you of it? I'm not going to sit here and try, I guess, tell you what to think or what is right and wrong, because at the end of the day, I don't know what is right and wrong. But I still think everyone should be treated equally, and everyone should get the chance to live the way that they want to live and be happy. I often hear people say that you don't deserve anything, but I think everyone deserves to be happy, and everyone deserves to feel like they are fulfilled. And I think you should fight for that. You shouldn't put others down, because that won't make you feel happy. It makes you feel worse. That's all I'll put. But not only does this whole thing reflect reality in a scary way and a rising sentiment that I'm not going to say a certain figure in the influencer world has definitely pushed upon young lads around my age, Empress Jessamine also heavily reflects Queen Victoria as well. And Queen Victoria is viewed as one of the most well-regarded monarchs in history. She really did help transform and stabilize the country during some of the most tumultuous years in the UK's history, the Industrial Revolution, of course. And due to her actions, she not only helped show the value that monarchs can bring to the UK, she actually basically saved the monarchs in a time where we were considering getting rid of them. If you want to know why, the monarchy got in such a terrible state because her uncles, yes, the men of her family, were so just, I guess, full of themselves that they abused their power, position, and influence to get exactly what they wanted. They were basically doing what the Pendletons are doing here, probably to a worse extent. Hey, if the modern royal family have people like certain someone who likes children, you can only imagine what they were like in an era where the policemen ran around with whistles. But this again reflects heavily real life. Institutions, monarchies, royal families, they're all corrupt in some way, and they will all abuse their power to get what they want. And unfortunately, you have a woman in power, and immediately the first thing of the older men in their positions of power is to try remove said person from her position of power, because women apparently are not good leaders. They're not good at doing the job of what should be a man's job. And wouldn't you know it, this is exactly the same thing that Queen Victoria faced during her rise to the throne. This is something that Dishonored clearly wants to highlight with our world, how women are often always looked down upon, especially when they get to positions of power. And we still see it. Maybe not with the royal family now. I think, honestly, the queens have proved that they're probably better at being queens in the UK than the kings. But in companies, when a new CEO or head of whatever rises to the top, if it's a woman, it's immediately treated with hostility, I've noticed. Most recently, new head of Xbox was a woman, and I immediately saw a lot of hostility towards her, and I always find it very odd that this is now the case. I don't believe that men and women are any different. I think both can do jobs of significant power just as well as each other. If not, sometimes some women are better suited than men to doing it. I don't think sex or gender should determine if you are right to do a job. It should be if you can do the fucking job at the end of the day. If you can do it, I don't give a fuck who you are. Do it well. But this is something that is played through all of human society. Women are always looked down upon. They're always seen as inferior to men, less mentally developed. They're not as strong. They're not as, they ain't got that willpower. They can't, make the hard choices. But then they do, and they prove themselves, and they show that they can. And then we still choose not to. We still view them as lesser, just as society is. And Dishonored reflects that scarily well. It just highlights how our world and how deep and almost disgusting the history and how we've treated women throughout history. And it's still like this to this day, how sexist society can be due to negative preconceptions. But I won't only say it's now just towards women, it's sometimes now pointed towards men. It's almost this weird thing where because you're a certain side, you're immediately pointed in a certain direction, which I find is very odd. I myself have faced this, and I know that people will probably say that, oh, why did you face this? I'm someone that likes to help. I like helping people. It's something I'm good at. And being as big as I am physically stronger than most people. I work in a job which is physically laborious. When I see someone struggling, I will always offer to help them with said task if it is too much for them. But this action, where I always do it, unfortunately means I help certain people more than others. Girls. I will often help girls more because they can't physically lift stuff like I can. Not being sexist, it just is. I will admit that. But this has led to me being pointed at as, do I have a sexist view on the world? Do I view women as weaker than me? No, I don't. I view women as stronger than me sometimes, I'll be fucking honest. I'm a weak human being. But because physically I am stronger than most, I use that to help as much as possible. I try to be as helpful as possible. But my desire to help is seen as me seeing others as weak, because they think that I'm viewing down upon them. Another quote I'll give you: accepting help is not a weakness, it's a strength. Understanding that you're not perfect and that you can't do everything, which will lead you to being stronger. Is my point a little bit hickety fucking all over the place? Maybe. And no, I don't only help the girls at work. I've helped the lads who have been struggling like hell to pull certain things around. Because, again, I'm stronger than most. But I just think it's such a shame that we live in a world where if you're offered help, it's because they think that we're viewing them as weak, not because they need the help. If we help each other, everyone rises up. So, you know, that's my point. It ticked me off a bit, I'll be honest, because I've always wanted to try be as good as a person as possible, and this channel has led me to try really change who I am as a person. And to be met with that sort of hostility, it made me question it. But luckily, I have good people that did help explain that who I am as a person. I'm not the friendliest looking fucker, I'll admit that. I'm a miserable guy from London. I don't smile a lot, but I do try to be good at the end of the day. So, anyway, is it a bit on the nose? Yes. Is it actively trying to make you think about these themes? No, it's not. But if you take 5 seconds to sit there and observe and listen to what's happening, you see these things start to pop up. And also, using the heart that we were given, you can figure this out by looking at all the girls and the guards, all these ideas and themes that I'm talking about. Now, the actual level itself as well, there is of course the side objective for Slackjaw, where we have to deal with this art dealer and we interrogate him by using a method he's rather fond of.
Oh, that's good. I deserve that one. Shall I tell you why? The Pendletons are here, right? I'll start with them. I cheated them, robbed them of thousands. I can tell you love your work. Oh, you're ruthless. Retribution!
And that's to get a code out of him for his safe. It's a bit kinky, and you can take it a bit too far. Hey, if that gets your boat floating, I'm not going to judge, just not for me. And once we're done and we've got the code from him, we can either leave him or kill him, it doesn't really matter. But we can quickly now deal with the Pendleton twins in whatever way you view as fair. And then we can investigate the boss's office, and yes, the boss of this establishment is a woman, which also does reflect how sometimes the most powerful women also put down other women just as much as the men did. They didn't try to lift each other up, they just pulled and pushed each other down. But retrieving the information, we can figure out that Emily is being held upstairs in the quarters where all the female workers slept. And going upstairs, we can find her fairly easily.
Who are you? Why are you wearing that mask? Corvo? Corvo, it's you! You're wearing a mask to sneak around, aren't you? They told me you were head chopped off in the prison, dead, like Mother. That seems like a long time ago. But you're not dead. Now we can leave. I have a plan. I almost got away twice. There's a special door to come and go for special people, and I'll show you. And if anyone tries to stop us, you can fight them.
With Emily now safe, we escort her out of the building and we can meet Granny Rags outside, who again is just hanging about, and this pretty much ends the level. And we can now start to make our way back to Samuel and take Emily back to the Hound Pits. Now you can take the code that you learned from that art dealer, which you're meant to take back to Slackjaw, and go loot the art dealer's place, and inside his apartment you find that there are people trying to rob him already, but you can go raid his like expensive shit in his safe. And you can make some good dosh from doing this. It's very worth going out of your way to do this, so you get more money for upgrades and items. And then you can then go give the code to Slackjaw himself. But let's get back to the Hound Pits.
So you did the business, did you, Corvo? I'm not one to speak against my betters, mind you, but if anybody ever deserved their fate, it was those Pendletons.
What business are you talking about?
Oh, grown-up business, girl. I mean, your ladyship. Forgive me.
It's okay. I heard a lot of grown-up business at the Golden Cat.
Oh. I should concentrate on piloting this boat.
Anyway, with a job well done and Emily safe, we now head to find Havelock and figure out our next objective to help get Emily to the throne.
All right, my friend. Martin's devised our next move. There's a footnote in Campbell's journal that tells us the Lord Regent's mistress sat for a portrait with Sokolov, the painter and royal physician. He'll be able to give us her name. Sokolov lives on Caldwin's bridge about half the time, out over the river. The catch is that I'm afraid you've got to head out right away, while Sokolov is at his apartment on the bridge. Samuel can get you close to the bridge, but you'll have to find Sokolov. Bring him back here intact, and it'll enable us to make our next move. I can't believe what you've done so far. Escaping from Coldridge, taking down the High Overseer, recovering Emily. You make this old military man proud. That's it then.
Well, now we are after some information, and the man that has that information we're after about a certain woman we're looking for is Sokolov, the painter, the same guy from the opening, and we need to figure out who this next target is, as this woman that we're going to be hunting down is a major financial backer of the current Lord Regent. So now we need to find Sokolov so we can figure out who this big financial backer is. Now it leads us into the next mission where we need to head to his lab and abduct him and then interrogate him. And Bethesda games can't exist without bugs, and look at this shit. This game does bug a lot. But anyway, we now find ourselves heading off to Bridge. Based on fucking Tower Bridge.
What do you think, Corvo? Caldwin's Bridge. You've been in the city for years, but you lived in Dunwall Tower with the late Empress, so maybe you haven't visited the bridge before tonight. Something to look out for. See all them lights on the water? That's right, we'll be spotted for sure. You're gonna have to shut off their power before I can pick you up. Now, about bringing Sokolov back alive, he's smart. Maybe even smarter than Piero. Got the whole of Dunwall under his thumb with all that natural philosophy business. New technology, potions and the like. Seems dangerous to me. But what do I know?
We now find ourselves at Caldwin Bridge, a fairly unique level, and of course it reminds me heavily of Tower Bridge in London. And this level has us navigating a very varied area. We have to navigate across the bridge itself and turn off the lights so Samuel can move the boat to a more accessible location so we can extract Sokolov when we knock him out. Overall, I really do enjoy this level. It has this really cool level of verticality to it with the bridge, but not only having like high heights, it has very low lows as well with the river beneath you as well. And then along the bridge as well, you have like loads of buildings that you can navigate through, the riverbed as well, which you can walk along. It's extremely varied and one of the more interesting environments in terms of the amount of different locations there are that you can maneuver through. It just makes it a fun little run through. Now also we can meet the outsider again, who will tell us a little bit about Sokolov.
Rivers change course over many lifetimes, and eventually all bridges tumble down. 1,000 years ago there was another city on this spot. The people carved the bones of whales into runes and inscribed them with my mark. Children still find them washed up in the river mud. Anton Sokolov has made a great study of my runes, but he's not special like you are. He wasn't chosen and he doesn't wear my mark, so he can't unlock their secrets. Sokolov believes there are specific words and acts that can compel me to appear before him. He searches old temples in Pendicia and ruined sub-basements in the flooded district. He performs disgusting rituals beneath the old abbey. But if he really wants to meet me, he could start by being a bit more interesting.
He is a thinker, and he has for years been studying the history of the world and trying to solve its many intricacies. And this has led him to investigate the Outsider and the many items engraved with the Outsider's symbol. But due to Sokolov not being chosen to bear the Outsider's mark, he will never be able to learn the full extent of what the Outsider truly is. Kind of like how us humans will never truly be able to understand completely what our universe actually does and the powers that are behind it. It is all just guesses and trying to make the most sense of all this chaos. Chaos, right? But Sokolov couldn't commune with the Outsider to figure out all of these questions, so he's been in this almost endless pursuit and chase of trying to figure out what all this stuff actually is, more specifically, what the Outsider engraving actually means. But this does tell us how intelligent Sokolov is as a person, because again, he is indeed the thinker. He is the man that basically has designed all the technology that has pushed this society forward and also reinforced their military. But overall, it's a fairly basic setup. There's not a lot of story stuff going on here. There is a little bit of like, oh, we need to find him to do this, but Sokolov is a key target, so we need to head through, infiltrate his lab, knock him out, and then take him back with us to the Hound Pits. But as we return back to the Hound Pits, it's very late, and now we hand off Sokolov and now head off to bed, and in the morning we will be doing a little bit of an interrogation to get the information out of Sokolov. But before you go to bed, you can choose to explore this area, and something I want to bring up is depending on your level of chaos, it will actually change the Hound Pits and its occupants' behaviors in certain ways. Most of the people will view you in a much more negative light if you have a current high chaos level and look down upon you and question why you are killing so many people. But I think what is really smart is how Emily is handled. Emily will occasionally draw and leave gifts for us in our room, on the table where she's normally studying, and these drawings will reflect how she herself is changing from our actions and how the actions of a parent are great and heavy influences on a child. I think it makes it even more tragic in a way, as one of the drawings that she will do for us will either be of Corvo, with her actually drawing our face, the father that she knows in low chaos, but in high chaos, she doesn't draw us as Corvo. She draws us as the ruthless assassin with the mask on. This image is telling us that our actions are changing not only Emily as a person, as the ending, how she acts, is completely different, but also Corvo is changing significantly from who he was. Emily drawing him as the assassin is her viewing him as someone completely different. She's no longer Corvo the royal protector, he is Corvo the assassin of the Outsider. And the fact that this new mask has become our true face to this girl tells us that we can and might have changed significantly if you've gone down a high chaos path. But if you do see this, you might question and might change what you're doing throughout the game. You might choose to start trying to be as low chaos as possible. I will tell you this, if you are currently on high chaos, you can turn it back around if you play the game in low chaos as much as possible from that point forward. And this is something that I love about Dishonored. If you care for any amount for these characters, if you feel like you have any sort of responsibility to be a good role model to Emily, the game makes you look at those actions and what you've been doing and makes you reflect on them and makes you choose what you want to do going forward. Will you still use the power you have been given with no restrictions and be ruthless as ruthless as possible, or will you limit yourself? Will you decide not to be completely ruthless with these powers? Because Dishonored is giving you the choice. It's asking the question, how will you use powers that are so powerful that they can completely change the world itself? Will you limit yourself, or will you let those powers run free? It's a turning point, asking if you're going to change your tune as you go into later missions. But now waking up, Emily greets us in the morning, but leaving her alone because she just wanted to see us, we can head downstairs and find Piero. He is spying currently on Callista.
I know it looks... I was inventing a new kind of lock. The tumblers shaped like snowflakes. Okay. The truth is, there is no snowflake lock. I was just, looking through the lock. I couldn't bear it if she knew. I know you're a man of honor, and I also know that you can kill me at any time. And for both of these reasons, I apologize and beg for your discretion.
This is a really interesting scene to me, which I find really funny to point out, because I've seen quite a few people online and other videos that cover this game question its relevance. Many people perceive it as a haha funny gag moment. Look, guy looking through keyhole, that's very naughty, you're not meant to do that, move out of the way son, let me do it. But I don't think it is that. I don't think it's just like a jokey gag moment. I do think that this is meant to be a more, I guess, pivotal moment that might make you realize something. When Piero is caught, he tries to initially lie and then immediately realizes he can't get out of it, and he admits to what he was doing was wrong, but he still did it. The only reason he's apologizing is because he was caught doing it. And yes, as I stated in other videos, don't do this unless the other party has consented to it. Now, why do some people see this as pointless? Well, first of all, it doesn't really feel like it adds anything to the game. You'll see it and you might not think anything of it. You might go, oh, it's a little jokey moment, and move on from it. And it kind of does reflect the culture in game development, and especially games back in 2010. We're seeing the rise of like people that really fell in love with games during that era, like the early 2000s to 2010s, and they want those games to come back. I'm sure you've all seen the really shitty, like, oh, I'm going to redesign this female character, and they just give them a pair of massive knockers and like make their face like completely caked up with makeup. It's that shit again. And this is kind of the culture the games had. Women were viewed as objects, as things to lust over. And this game has done that. The game has been showing that plot point. It's been showing that theme throughout it. And it definitely has the, I guess, issues that the game from 2010, 2012 would have. And I'm sure many of you have heard the many horror stories about certain video game developer workplaces and the horror stories about them, about sexual misconduct, just general creepiness, rape, so on, so forth. You get the point. But is this moment here, is it pointless? Does it serve anything in the game? Is it just a very poorly timed joke that they're trying to pull that doesn't really add anything to the game? I don't think so. I think it actually does add something. I think it is meant to reflect something, and that's like, I guess, very me to do that, because I always look at things like this. But I think what it is showing us is that the very men we work with, the very men that we are siding with, are just as disgusting and depraved as the ones that we are against. I mean, even Callista's line when you enter the bathroom and talk to her reflects this point.
I can't believe this. When I took this job, they told me I'd work with good men.
Piero is just as sleazy and creepy as the Pendleton twins, and this might lead you to question the other members that we are working for. Are they all just as corrupt, power-hungry, and abusive as the others? Is the Pendleton we know the exact same as his brothers? Is Havelock as power-hungry as the Spy Master? Is our Overseer as controlling as the High Overseer? I think this is what this scene is meant to make you think about. But unfortunately, it's not very well done. The reason I say that is because you as Corvo can choose to be just as disgusting as these men. Being able to then spy on Lydia and then barge in to tell her what Piero did is weird. It is just strange. But again, choice is a big thing in this game. And in a previous video I made, if you're interested, I really hope you're not, go watch the Black Souls videos if you are. I believe in a game that pushes choice as a big mechanic in the game needs to let you have as many choices as possible to really let you have those choices. And Dishonored does have that. You can spy on her and then leave her. You can barge in, talk to her, flirt with her, say that you might want to climb in the tub with her and maybe have a night of passion with her, and she will actually reciprocate it, saying that, oh, if the plague wasn't a thing, I might agree. This kind of reflects, though, the culture back then. Women would just do anything to be with men of higher power, but it's really sad, I will be honest, man. Or you can just go in and tell her that Piero was spying on her. There is a bit of tact to it. If this does happen, at least let the lass get out and get dry and dressed first before you tell her. But the game is making you think about every action that you do. Everything you say, everything you do has ramifications. You need to think about every action you take every second, every minute. And I think if you don't punish Piero for what he's done here, if you don't tell Lydia what he was doing, I think it makes you kind of worse in a way. There is a saying that a passive observer is just as bad as the aggressor. This is something normally that has to do with crime. People that see and witness crime but don't report it are just as bad as the people committing the crime. I think that's a bit extreme, but I will say that I think if you do see something, we're gonna get deep here. If you see someone being abusive, someone being sexually not nice to someone, you should definitely step in and do something about it. And if you're not as physically strong as someone like moi, then you should report it to someone that can do something about it. Be it the police, someone that you trust that is going to do something about it. You get the point. But at the end of the day, I do think this scene is a good scene, and I think it actually adds a lot. Is it a bit sleazy? Do you feel disgusting looking through the keyhole? Yes. But I think you're meant to. Like, if you don't, there's something wrong with you, obviously. But it's meant to show us that everyone else, Piero, the Admiral, the Pendleton that we know, and Martin, could all just be as disgusting and corrupt as the men that we've been fighting against. Again, fuck me, I did this whole conversation in the Black Souls vid, and that was talking about a much darker choice that you could actively make in that game. But is there a better way to outline this point? Probably. There probably is. You could probably write a much better way of displaying this, and I think there is a better way to display this that the game actually does. But I think having more examples and showing us multiple times this fact that these men are not great people does add more layers to the game in a way. But anyway, let's move on to the interrogation scene.
Royal Physician, I believe you and Corvo knew each other in former days. Unlike you, our friend Corvo knows what loyalty means.
Bah! I am loyal to my inner spirit. You are the one consorting with the most wanted man in the Empire.
It's my belief that Corvo was innocent in the death of the Empress, and the former spy master, or the Lord Regent, as he calls himself, is a ruthless tyrant bent on destroying this city, the heart of the Empire.
You are mistaken if you think there's love between me and our Lord Regent. But whatever you intend to do here, I assure you, I am beyond petty scare tactics.
If I don't scare you, Sokolov, perhaps these rats will. Even if they don't carry plague, I've heard of a swarm of rats stripping a child's body to the bone in half a minute. I've heard worse. How long do you think it'll be before you talk? Before you beg to talk?
Rats? Is that the company you keep now, Admiral?
It's the company you keep that interests us, Sokolov. We know you painted a portrait of the Lord Regent's mistress, the very aristocrat who is funding the military with her fortune. She is the key to the Lord Regent's control over the city, and we must have her name.
Sorry, Admiral. I cannot help you. You're part of this rabble, but I know you have your reasons.
Yes, he does. All we need is the name of the Lord Regent's mistress. It's very simple.
I elect not to tell you. You will have to force the words from me, and I warn you, my willpower is quite legendary.
Sorry, Sokolov.
No, not rats. Stop! Stop! I will tell you what you need to know.
This is what I mean by I think this is a better way to display it. In this interrogation, Havel here uses rats to threaten Sokolov, and this does display a level of ruthlessness. Not only the whole thing of being ripped apart by rats, but the rats carry the plague, and the fact that he's weaponizing this against someone else does show almost his ruthlessness, that he will do anything and harm anyone to get exactly what he wants, get the information that he is after. Again, this is showing that. This is showing the same point from that Piero scene. In a different way. If Piero was the more disgusting, sleazy aspect where he will use women for however he wants, the Admiral here is using power to force people into submission, basically. But doing this interrogation technique with the rats, it does allow us to get the information that we are after. That being the location of the next target, a Lady Boyle, who is connected to Hiram Burrows, the current Lord Regent, as not only his mistress, but also his main financial backer. And we are now going to go off to kill her because she is sleeping with the Lord Regent and giving him money. Yeah, this one feels a bit more odd to me. It's very clear that the Lord Regent is using her and probably trying to get as much money out of her as possible and obviously get a little extra on the side. But why are we actually going to kill Lady Boyle? She isn't actually a political target. She's not in Parliament. She doesn't control anything. She's not like the High Overseer or the Pendleton twins who are in Parliament, who control basically all of the nobility. And she's not even someone that was involved in the assassination of the previous Empress. She is a woman who has chosen to be with someone and is giving him money because she might actually love him. We are targeting her because she is in a relationship with someone that we view as an enemy. And this was the first target that we were given in Dishonored when I was playing it through again, that I was questioning, why are we targeting her? And I didn't want to kill her. And going into this mission, this was the first time I actually questioned why this was a target, and I didn't want to kill her at all. It felt pointless. To me, it felt like a simple conversation and a persuasion to our side could solve the very issue that she poses to us, her financial aid to the current Lord Regent. But again, I think this shows that we are doing the very same thing that the people we are currently hunting did, the people that killed the Empress. We are doing everything we can to remove the current Lord Regent from the throne, even killing people that didn't have anything to do with what happened to Empress Jessamy. Lady Boyle did nothing. She is an innocent woman, and for some reason we are being told to kill her. I think it's a really interesting mission that definitely is going to have some twists and turns. But outside as well, after the interrogation, Pendleton gives us a side request to find a specific man in a wolf mask and hand him a note. And it seems simple enough, so we will do that as we head out and go to
Regent's pulling out all the stops for the Boyle family. I didn't think there'd be tall boys patrolling here tonight. Watch yourself, Corvo. They don't fool around. The good news is, once you get to the party, that mask of yours lets you blend right in. Enjoy your evening out with the folk of quality. Better you than me.
Now, entering the estate district, we enter what I think is probably the second best mission in the entire game. Maybe first, but it's a tie between this and Golden Cat for me. First of all, we meet a new enemy type, that being the tall boy, who are quite annoying to deal with, so we should just avoid them for now. But the first part of this level starts with us doing more of the traditional stealth that we have familiarized ourselves with, and we do this until we break our way into the Boyle estate and the Boyle party. And there we can engage with a very different kind of stealth. The entire party section in this mission is social stealth, which is a slightly different style of stealth, and it's really cool to see this style of stealth done way earlier than when it was perfected. Social stealth was truly perfected, in my opinion, by the Hitman games by IOI, and the use of it in this game more specifically reminds me of Payday in how it works, how it flows, how the guards move around, how certain areas are restricted to you, and how there is almost a casing part to this level where you can walk around freely in front of guards but go in the wrong area and get spotted by them, all hell breaks loose. But to actually get into the party, we have to obtain either an invitation or find a way to just sneak in. But actually getting in, we are informed of the party's main game. The three Boyle sisters have all dressed up in three identical outfits and masks, and all three of them are different colors, and the task that we have is to guess which Boyle is which one. And the one that we are after is in bed with the Lord Regent, so we have to figure out which one that is. Or you could just kill all three of them and be done with the objective if you are in a rush. What if you don't want to kill them? What if you want to truly figure out which one is the one that we are after? Well, there is a couple ways we can do this. We can either head upstairs into the three ladies' rooms to find out clues about which one is the correct Lady Boyle. Basically, find the one that contains the portrait of her beloved, the Lord Regent. But what if you want to do it non-lethally, as if you do this just figures out who the actual target is and who we should kill? Well, we have to help out this gentleman here.
I know your mission tonight. We must speak. Privately. I'm a friend of Pendleton's, and I've done a few favors for your cause. I know your purpose here tonight. And, how to say this, your target is the woman I love. I swear that if you'll bring her to me unharmed, you will never hear of her again. There's a cellar directly below the kitchen. I'll wait for you there. I'm not proud of this, but surely it's better than seeing her killed. Her name is Waverly. I won't harm her,
sure
I
in a few
swear.
drinks I'll
I'm a
find
man
that
of
mask
means.
funny.
Just bring her to the cellar and I will keep her safe with me. Forever.
He loves Lady Boyle, so much so that he wants to take her away and become her husband. And this quest is fairly morbid. It involves us informing the correct Lady Boyle, as the fine gentleman here tells us which one it is, and then we tell her to meet us down in the basement. We then knock her out and give her to Lord Brisby.
Found her! Quickly, let's get her on board.
At last, oh my love. Someday you will understand. You'll never know how happy you've made me. Someday she'll learn to appreciate me. After all, she'll have her whole life.
Lord Brisby is her stalker. He is obsessed with her. And this plot point here is definitely the one that confuses a lot of people. Basically, we give Lady Boyle to Lord Brisby and he forces himself upon her so that she is forced to become his wife. Which, despite the developers stating that they wish they didn't do this, I think this further emphasizes the point that's being made throughout the game regarding women, especially in this style of culture. Even Lady Boyle, a woman so rich, she is the primary backer of the Lord Regent and even is in bed with the Lord Regent, is powerless when another man decides that he wants her. She is handed off by a random man that doesn't know her to another man that she doesn't love and is forced to marry him. Even not killing her in this level feels so wrong. The other time that you can do this, it feels less dirty and more poetic in a way. The new High Overseer, branded and removed from his position. The Pendleton twins are forced to work in the mines that they themselves profit from. But Lady Boyle herself is given to a man who kidnaps her, forces her to marry him, probably rapes her, forces her to have his kids, and makes her live a life that she doesn't want. Now there is a follow-up book or comic that does reveal that Lady Boyle actually manipulated Brisby into basically giving his entire estate to her and coming out on top in the end. I'm not 100% sure. It still feels wrong, considering the fact as well that she had a shit ton of money as well. I don't think she needed him. It's a very disturbing action, this, and it's a very disturbing way for the mission to end, and it just feels wrong. But I think it's almost intentional in a way. In a way, Lady Boyle, as I stated, is the first target that has felt wrong from the beginning in my eyes. And no matter the way that we deal with it, it feels wrong in the end. I really think the game wants you to realize that Lady Boyle is not a target. She should never have been a target, and we should really be questioning who we are working for, why we are trusting these men so fully. But overall, I really do enjoy this level. It's a really well made level. There's so much to do in it. All the NPCs can interact with you in different ways. There's so many different ways to complete the level and so many different things to actually do within it. And it's really cool to see social stealth done in this way as well, especially before Hitman was made. But anyway, I think we should now go give that note that we had for Pendleton to Lord Shaw.
Pendleton? What's he got to say to me?
Pendleton is a gutless, lying sack of shit. I hope he's paying you well for this.
And now we have been dragged into a duel with Lord Shaw on behalf of Pendleton. We are basically dealing with his shit now. And this duel is very easy. You can super easily take him out. I'm pretty sure you can actually probably knock him out with a sleep dart or just choke him out by using bend time. But it seems so stupid for Pendleton to give us this assignment and not actually tell us what it is. It's almost as if he's using us to get what he wants. Why did we kill Lord Shaw here? What was the point? Why did we need to kill him? Why were we forced into dealing with him? Well, maybe it's because Pendleton saw him as a threat to himself and wanted him eliminated so he could ascend in whatever field he is in, Parliament most likely, and get even higher than Lord Shaw. This is a selfish request by Pendleton. This has nothing to do with getting Emily back to the throne. And again, if I've not made it abundantly clear at this point, these men are not good people that we're working for. They are just as corrupt as the other men. So why are we trusting them? Well, it's because there's no one else to trust. we're taking the worst of the two devils to work with at the moment, I think. But dealing with all of that, we can now actually head back to Samuel and return to the Hound Pits and quickly debrief with Lord Pendleton about his so-called assignment that he gave us and the main objective that we had with Havelock. But also Havelock will give us our next task.
Corvo, the time has come. Everything we have done, everything that you have done, has served to make this moment possible.
The Lord Regent is exposed, Corvo. Vulnerable. And now everything is in place to strike at him. We're one step from the throne.
One man, one beating heart, is all that's left of the forces that brought this city to the brink of ruin.
It is simple, but it will be far from easy. The Lord Regent's paranoia has reached an all-time high. He has lost the support of the overseers, the Parliament, his financial base, and he's lost Sokolov, who made his security technology. So at Dunwall Tower, he has consolidated every remaining loyal man around him.
He knows something is coming. He knows you are coming. And everything depends on him being correct. Piero will help you prepare. Then Samuel will take you close to the tower, near the waterlock. Last time you were there was the horrible day that all of this started. Now you will go there and end it. Good luck, Corvo.
I'm not sure what else we could say, other than our hopes are riding on you.
Well, now we are going to target the Lord Regent himself, the final target to eliminate, and return Emily to the throne.
This is it, Corvo. Your last memories of Dunwall Tower might not be good ones, huh? So maybe you can make up for what happened back then. It'll be a bit of a climb from the waterlock. Most important thing is killing the Lord Regent. Built himself quite a place at the top of the tower. Calls it his safe room or something. Crazy if you ask me. Another point of interest while I'm giving you the grand tour, Corvo. Broadcast control station here where all them announcements come from. Might be worth looking into. You ready? Next time I see you, the Lord Regent will be dead. And if not, well, it was an honor to serve with you.
And we now head back to Dunwall Tower to face the Lord Regent. And this mission, again, is really good. Dishonored has some of the best level design in the game. Every mission is so well designed in how it's laid out, how it flows, everything. It's amazingly well done. But returning to Dunwall Tower, the very place the Empress was assassinated, is interesting because instead of being welcomed in on a bright sunny day, we have to sneakily infiltrate our way in during the dead of night. But this area is where the game first taught us how to play the game, how to use stealth, how to fight, and now we've returned to it having completely learnt the game, and now we're going to use all the skills that we've acquired to completely change the level up. This level itself as well has many different enemy types. It has almost every enemy type in the game, and also has many different kinds of obstacles that you have to overcome, from the Tesla towers to the light gates, as well as many interactable objects like the PA system. But speaking of the PA system, we can actually, once entering the main building, we can head up to the broadcast control station and find the propaganda officer.
Please don't hurt me. You're here to kill the Regent, aren't you? Spare my life, and I can help you beat him. He makes recordings on audiograph, secrets. Some that destroy him if others heard. Played on this amplifier, his confessions will be broadcast throughout the city. He'll be ruined. The audiograph card you want is in a safe in the Lord Regent's room, but I was able to see the combination over his shoulder. 935. Trust me, what's recorded on that card will do the trick. Good luck.
And he gives us a way to destroy the Lord Regent without killing him. We can broadcast his confession on the PA system, and he gives us the code to his safe, which contains the said confession on an audiograph recording. Why would you keep this? God knows. But quickly grabbing said recording and heading back to the PA office, we can play it and then go see the Lord Regent be arrested and removed from his position.
I order you to put down your weapons. This is treason.
It's over, Hiram. Your head will roll for what you've done.
No! I'll make you rich men if you just let me go. I beg you.
You nearly destroyed this city. No amount of money will undo that. Get him ready for the walk to Coldridge Prison.
Yes, sir.
Man, this level is actually really easy just to deal with him non-lethally. If anything, it's easier to not kill the Lord Regent, and I think that's purposeful. The game is trying to encourage you to go non-lethally at this point. While the Pendletons and the others were a bit easier to kill, these last ones are way harder to deal with killing, because it's trying to teach us that doing this will basically do the same thing that these men did to remove the previous Empress. But it also reflects how easily these so-called powerful figures are toppled by one single action happening, one truth being fully revealed to the world, how that control that they have can easily be removed at any point in time. But the fact that I finished this mission in my playthrough in 12 minutes, I think really does say a lot. I think this needed to be way more challenging to deal with him non-lethally. Now within this mission as well though, I did do a good bit of exploring within those 12 minutes, and you can find some interesting things, like a letter from the late Empress to Corvo, and it very clearly is illustrating a more loving relationship between the two that hasn't really been highlighted as much thus far. But other than that, there's not a lot actually to mention. It's more looting and pillaging and then running away to Samuel to go home. And when we return home, the gang is all having a party in the pub.
That's it. The Lord Regent's done. Farewell to Hiram Burroughs, you scheming piece of shit. Now we can bend the law to pardon our past crimes, Corvo. We'll find Daud, the assassin the Lord Regent sent to butcher the Empress. Then you can have your revenge. We'll have to move fast to clean up his mess. The armed forces will do their job. Martin has control of the overseers, and you, Trevor, do whatever it is you do with Parker.
That's Lord Trevor Pendleton to you. Without me, you'll never command the nobility. They'll tear you apart like a fish.
Sorry, Corvo. We're nervous. Your work is done, and ours begins. The coronation will be an impromptu affair. It still requires much preparation. Most of it we can handle, but there is the matter of security. Emily will be vulnerable to whoever killed her mother. I doubt history will repeat itself, but you must be sharp and wary tomorrow.
He's right. Rest. Restore yourself. Raid Piero's wares. Restock your ammo and make yourself ready. Just in case.
To Corvo, the man who served to change the course of history.
To Emily Caldwin, and the new dawn rising for Dunwall and the Empire.
But after having our drink, something goes wrong with our vision and it starts blurring, and you might be a bit confused like I was. You might think it has something to do with the outsider, but as you head to bed you will collapse just before you reach it, and you might clock that you were probably just poisoned. Bro, I've been poisoned.
Samuel, you move like you've been drinking. Did the poison work its magic? Is he dead?
It better have worked. It cost me a month's profit.
Yes, sir. I believe Corvo has breathed his last. Just as you wanted.
You've done a fine job, then.
Remember, we need the body. If we come forward with the corpse of the man who murdered the Empress, we'll be greeted as heroes.
Yes, it'll grant us legitimacy. We'll be the men who rescued Emily and brought down the Lord Regent and his assassin. You'll see to the body, won't you, Samuel?
Yes, sir. Why I keep sticking my neck out for you eludes me. But I only gave you half the poison, Corvo. They were watching me do it, but not close enough. Maybe you'll survive it. I can hardly blame them for turning on you, after all the people slaughtered in the name of this cause. Those are crimes of state, and maybe they figure it'd be too hard to control Emily with you around. Could be they're right on that score. I'll drop you in a boat, and then I've got to ship out myself before they smother me in my sleep. That's the next thing. Makes the most sense. If you're lucky, you'll wake up and find your way out of this doomed city. If not, well, goodbye.
Now, even before this, the conversations between the people were seemingly off. Martin seemed off, Callista was scared of Martin, and even the others were having these really odd conversations about really odd things that just didn't seem right. But as we start to wake up from the poisoning, we can see that the three leaders of the Loyalists have betrayed us: Martin, Pendleton, and Havelock. and they were going to use us to do the very same thing that the current Lord Regent and the High Overseer did, use people to get into the position of power that they want. These men would come forth saying that they saved Emily and killed the assassin of the late Empress, allowing them to get higher positions in government and probably more powerful positions at that. But for some reason, Samuel didn't fully poison us, as he actually somewhat liked us, and he knows what is happening is wrong. But he was forced into doing it as the other men were watching him. But with us drugged and thrown on a boat in a river, we are now let down the river to basically die. But we are found by the assassins.
This is the one who was with the Empress when she died. Poisoned. Tivian stuff.
Amateur work. He'll live.
That's up to Daud.
The assassins now take us to their boss, and we meet the very man who killed the Empress, Daud.
I know a great deal, bodyguard. I recognize those marks on your hand. A gift from your friend. The one who talks to you in the dark. Talks to you when you visit his shrines. I visited those shrines too. And I know what it felt like to shove a blade into your Empress. But I don't know you. Who you are, and who you fight for. You're a mystery. And I can't allow that.
The head of the assassins, and also a man who is familiar with the outsider, as he as well is marked by him. And he knows the sheer power we possess, and he can't trust us, so he locks us up and leaves us to rot because he's scared of what chaos we could unleash upon the world. But now we wake up in the next mission. The escape mission, and this is a fairly good mission as well, which is very different. We start with us missing all of our gear and have to find our way out of the area to not only get back to Emily and try to save the day, but also get our gear back and deal with Daud. And it's a really varied level with a unique atmosphere to it as we are going through these flooded streets. It really shows us that just how depraved and how poor some areas of this city of Dunwall actually are. But not only that, the flooded streets are filled with more of the monstrous enemies, the weepers, the spitter things that are big rocks, and rats, while the rooftops, if you try to parkour your way over them, they're patrolled by assassins. So you have to make the choice of which ones you want to deal with. It's just good fun, I love it. But the level itself is fairly simple. We navigate through the area until we eventually reach Daud's base, infiltrate it, either killing everyone or sneaking our way past and giving a warning to Daud himself by pickpocketing him to show him that we got to him at some point and could have killed him. A warning telling him to leave us alone, giving him his one chance to not die by our hand. Now you might question, why did we not kill Daud? He was the man that killed the Empress. Well, the assassins, throughout all of their speaking and chit chat as you go through their base, make it abundantly clear they're blades for hire. They're not politically driven, they're not on a side, they'll do anything for coin. And Daud, once you reach him, he talks about his regret of killing the Empress. He doesn't believe it was a good thing that he did, despite the money he earned from it. He believes that what he did was unforgivable and that he shouldn't have done it. Even if you kill him, you go up to him and fight him, he will show a great deal of regret. And the entire DLC, by the way, both of them, are about Daud and him dealing with his feelings of regret and him trying to atone for what he did. Daud himself has no real reason for doing what he does other than money. But the fact that he feels like him killing the Empress was wrong, I think does show that he does have a sense of morality, and he knows that the men that he's put in power are just bad. They're not as good as the Empress was. But is Daud to blame? Is a good question. Yes, he did kill the Empress, but he is a man in a time where money is very tight. We're talking like people can probably barely afford to eat, and he's using his skills to earn money. It's just unfortunate that the people with a high amount of money gave him a job that was just a net evil. So I don't think you can really blame Daud for doing what he did. He's desperate for money and desperate to maintain and keep all of his assassins safe, because I hate to bring up the DLC again. In the DLC, he does show a level of care and he wants to keep all of these assassins that he works with safe, because at one point all of them were younger or sick people that he took in and raised and trained to be assassins. Daud is a much less fortunate individual and isn't rich or politically powerful. He had no silver spoon in his mouth. He is a man that was at the bottom of the world but has been fighting to get his way up. It's just that the only way he could do that was through what he does now, his work as an assassin. But dealing with Daud however you deem necessary, we can make our way past him and into the tunnels, and eventually we can find much less fortunate areas of the city, seeing the amount of people this plague has actually been killing, and also how oppressive the guards are, with certain people just being killed by the guards, or even bodies just being dumped into these areas willy-nilly, with them piling up. But making our way past all of this, and also past Granny Rags and Slackjaw, who are in a fairly interesting predicament where you have to choose which side you want to be on. And by the way, we also learned that the man that Granny Rags most likely was married to was the outsider, which is quite interesting, because you can find a portrait of him in her furnace / bedroom area, whatever this is. But after that, that completes the flooded district level. It's a really interesting level. It's really well made. The level design is insanely well done, and also it shows us how badly the city is hurting, how most people are suffering so much, but also how your actions have changed the world. Certain people in this level will either be weepers or will just be regular folk who have not been infected by the plague if you're in high or low chaos. So hopefully at this point, when you're at the lowest in the game, you might reflect on what you're doing and maybe try make a better future for some other people. But immediately we now head into the next level, the Hound Pits pub level. And immediately here we meet
Please,
Celia.
no! Oh, it's you, Corvo. Thank the stars. We all thought you'd been killed, except for Samuel. He seemed sure you'd survived. I saw him on the river shortly before the killing began. He was smart enough not to come ashore, but I'll bet he's still out there. Looking for you is my guess. At first, Pendleton said it was time for our bonus. Havelock stood behind them, and at the signal, he shot them each in the back of the head. Just like the target drills he used to. Lydia barely had time to scream. I would be dead too. Except Wallace told me I wouldn't be getting anything. Pendleton kept apologizing, saying that no one could ever know about the things they'd done. Martin was drinking and seemed sad. The Admiral was about to shoot Callista. Then he mumbled something about owing her uncle, Captain Kurnow, a debt. They said it was time for Sokolov, and went off to his cage. I don't know what happened after that. Emily was there when the killing started. Poor child. I hope she hid her eyes. The Admiral said that Martin was right. I guess they talked about it. And they started to worry they'd get executed for all... I thought Lydia would squeal on me at the end. She just told Havelock to screw himself. And died.
Jesus. And she informs us that the Admiral has executed most of the people in the pub and has taken Emily away. But now we enter the pub, which was once filled with the very people we called friends, is now filled with guards of the city. And what's most interesting is that the guards from the city here aren't the ones that killed the people. The Admiral did. He executed them, informed the authorities, and they came because they believed that either Corvo or someone else was here that they were after, and now they have just basically taken it up as the others are hiding. Now, what is the most interesting part of this level is this is the first time we are in a location that you are more familiar with. So you'll be able to know the pathways, hopefully, if you spent a bit of time in the pub. It makes it a hell of a lot more interesting to play through. Now, there is a way to quickly knock out all the guards or kill them. You have to find Piero and Sokolov in the workshop and help them finish their newly constructed Tesla tower. You can do whatever one you deem best. But what is most interesting, in my opinion, about this level is depending on your chaos level, certain characters will either survive Havelock and Martin's fury or be killed. And case in point, the very woman who took care of Emily Castilla, they will either be found in a body bag with a note attached to her from Samuel, or she will be in the tower hiding and will inform us that Emily was taken away, but the Admiral let her live because he wasn't going as crazy. But it even shows that our actions have been affecting Admiral Havelock. If you're in high chaos, he might be going insane because he can't believe the amount of blood that is technically on his hands, because he is sending us into all of these situations. But depending on however you obtain the information, we learn that Samuel is out on the river waiting for a flare to be shot at to be called back, because he knows that if he returns too early, the Admiral will kill him, as he is just one more loose end that needs to be tied. But clearing out the guards and calling Samuel over, we can have a chat with him.
Thought I'd find you here. Never pays to bet against you, does it? I saw the signal. I knew you'd be back, Corvo. I knew it. We'll need to get out of here soon. The Admiral controls the military now, Martin's High Overseer, and Pendleton's in favor with the aristocracy and Parliament. They need Emily, of course. But if Havelock senses that it's all about to fall down around him, who knows what he's liable to do.
And now we head out to the Lighthouse, the final level of the game, and depending on your level of chaos, you'll get one of two missions, the low chaos version or the high chaos version. So what's the difference? Well, the low chaos one, Samuel will respect you and actually think you're a good man, and he will help you as much as possible. And in the high chaos one, he hates you. He thinks you're a disgusting man and that you're as evil as everyone else. But maybe you're a bit less evil because you're trying to actually help Emily because you actually love her. But he's not one for wanting to feel like he's helping you. So once he drops you off at the island, and he tells you to fuck off, not giving you any sort of hints about the level and what you should expect going forward. He just boots you off and leaves. Now, also in the high chaos version, it has significantly more targets to deal with, as well as, I think, guards as well. So first of all, the main targets in this mission, Pendleton, Martin, and Havelock will all be main targets you have to deal with. But in low chaos, once you reach the final room, you will see that Havelock killed both Pendleton and Martin before we could even get to that point. He himself backstabbed them, but basically what I think happened was within the chaos, they probably tried to kill each other, but they all got away. But because there was no chaos in the low chaos one, Havelock was able to poison them and kill them easily. Now, for me, but what I find the most fun about this mission is depending on whatever chaos level you are, that's been the main way you've been playing the game. And this mission will act as the final test at testing your wit and your ability in that specific type of combat. In high chaos combat, where you're killing everyone, using all your powers as much as possible, using all the gadgets and gear, or low chaos, which is stealth, this mission works perfectly in both. It's a fun scrap and it's a fun one to run through in stealth as well. Now, for my first playthrough, I got the low chaos version and I found myself sneaking my way through the entire level, but it really is just a big gameplay section that there's not much going on. It's a final test of your ability, the biggest hurdle you have and the most complex hurdle at that. But it is really well designed because both gameplay styles play so well for the entire level. It doesn't feel like stealth is better in this level or the combat is better in this level. They're both just as good as each other, and I would recommend you play through it in both ways. But also, this level to me is the best one in actually making your choices feel that much more dramatic, because there is two different levels depending on your chaos level. All of your choices that you've made will influence and will determine which version you get. And depending on the chaos, it can lead to a completely different level. And it's kind of a thought of, oh, does it reward you for doing one way or the other? It rewards you either way. It rewards you by giving you a level that you have been more suited towards, the one that you've been playing more like. If you enjoy more high chaos, scrapping, getting dirty and killing, it rewards you with a level where it's filled with that. But if you prefer stealth, it will reward you with a great stealth level. And I love that. It's a kind of game design that I think is so hard to really explain why it's so well done. But it's because it's so malleable, these levels. They can be played in any way and any version of it is right. It's not like Metal Gear Solid where if you go loud and you kill everyone, it feels wrong. It still feels right. It still feels fun and engaging, and you have the stuff in the game that makes it even more fun because you have all the abilities there. But getting through the level, scrapping, stealthing, whatever, and dealing with all the targets, we can finally find our way and save Emily. But depending on the version, it will be 3 different endings. First of all, you have the low chaos one, the high chaos one, or the high chaos Emily dead ending. And these endings are all very similar in how they play out. The only difference is in high chaos, the Admiral knows you're there, so he grabs Emily and basically threatens to jump off the lighthouse with her. And if you don't save her fast enough, he will jump off with her and kill her. And in low chaos, she's locked in a room. That's the difference. But what about the actual endings of the game? First of all, I'm going to start with the one that I think most people will get. That being the high chaos normal ending, the one where Emily lives. You successfully return Emily to her rightful place on the throne, making her the new empress, but due to your actions, a level of chaos fell upon the city which was uncontrollable. And this affected Emily greatly, and I believe probably turned her into the very men that we just removed from power. She became a ruler that didn't rule like her mother, that wasn't empathetic, that tried to do the best for all the people. She just tried to control and keep people in order. She ruled, most likely, I would assume, with an iron fist. We may have saved Emily, but the world that we created for her to rule over was not a kind one. And once we die, she will be forced into a role that maybe her mother never intended for her or wanted her to inherit. Or maybe just like the others before her, she would be quickly replaced when we are no longer there to protect her. Now the other one where she dies, basically it's the same thing. Massive chaos, a huge power vacuum engulfs the Isles, and shit just hits the fan basically. It's like the biggest bad ending. This is like the real bad one. But also the different fates of all these characters that we met throughout the game, depending on how you treated them, what you did to them, you'll see what happened to them in the end as well. But also the chaos level will determine their endings as well. So Samuel, for example, who you never really had an explicit choice to make, his ending will be different depending on high or low chaos. And the same is true for Piero, Sokolov, so on and so forth. So what about the low chaos ending? Well, it's quite similar, but it's a brighter ending, with Emily now taking the throne and the people aren't suffering as much due to you not causing as much chaos, leading to the plague spreading more. But there still is a level of chaos in the land, a level of backstabbing going on, which is shown by the man hiding the knife behind his back. But this world is much more civilized compared to the other endings. And also, most of the characters in this ending will probably get a good ending, a better one if you will. And the endings are simple, but I think that's purposeful because the endings shouldn't be the main thing in this game. The main thing is the choice, the journey. That is what the bread and butter of Dishonored truly is. This may be the ending, but it isn't all that Dishonored has to offer, as we have, of course, the DLCs. I'm not going to go over the DLC in complete detail because I don't have a lot to add, but it's really good. First of all, we have the Dunwall Trials DLC. It's basically a challenge mode, which is just these really fun, really well laid out levels, which are set up for you to complete and perfect and do as best as possible. They're a really good use of the game's mechanics and does show the potential that Dishonored has, and I think really does show what a sequel could have in it, because the levels are very different in how they play out. But it's not that important overall. The more important two, of course, are the 2 story expansions which follow Daud in his quest searching for something called Delilah. Honestly, the story DLC is really good, it's really well written and everything, and when you learn a hell of a lot about Daud and who he is as a man, and how he genuinely regrets what he did, killing Jessamine, and that he wishes he could go back and just stop himself from doing it. But that's the whole DLC. It's him trying to atone for that with him hunting down Delilah and trying to figure out what Delilah is, because it was the one hint that was given to him about this could fix the issue that you have, like the regret you have. And eventually you find out that Delilah is a witch who is currently doing a ritual to swap her consciousness with Emily so that she could rule the world. Basically, Daud saves Emily, repaying the debt of killing Jessamine. Maybe, maybe not. It depends if you think he can be forgiven for what he did. It's good, there's a whole story there, and it's about Daud and him going through those emotions and thoughts, and it's really well written for Daud, but it doesn't really have a lot to add, like in terms of what the game is really trying to say. It's just a really good way to allow the world to be built up a hell of a lot more, and it adds a level of depth that we didn't have in the base game, because we get to see the entire world from a different angle, Daud's angle, and all the other levels that we get, the new ones, the reuse ones, are all really well made. So honestly, I would highly recommend just playing this game and playing the DLC yourself. There's not much for me to add for the DLC. So go play the game. It's really good, and I really did enjoy the DLC, despite my lack of things to say. It's probably the best part of Dishonored. It's the best made levels, the best made. It adds way more items to use and changes some of the powers up. Well worth it. Go give it a go. Dishonored is honestly a one-of-a-kind game that I don't think we'll ever get again. Even though we have a sequel, I think the first one is special in its own way. It comes from an era where creativity led and pushed games forward, not on how much money they could make, but because the people that were making them had a passion for them. They wanted to make something unique and special. And every time I come back to this generation of games, I'm reminded heavily of why I truly fell in love with games. Is Dishonored perfect? Is it the greatest game ever made? No, it's not. It's nowhere near. It has problems that I could point at and complain about for ages, from the combat feeling stiff and sloppy at times, to even what you could argue is the game limiting itself by having the chaos system in place, which is often, in my experience, made the missions either way easier or sometimes a bit more boring. Like, yes, stealth is fun, but how am I meant to use most of the tools that you give me if they're all lethal? If I can't kill people because that leads to high chaos, then that will lead to me not using most of the game's functionality. I will miss out on a lot of gameplay. And it can make the game feel very stale at times if you choose to go out of your way to play it in one specific way. If you just want to stealth the entire game, it feels a lot more stale at times. But I think Dishonored is best played when you decide that you want to go aggro here, stealth there, bit of a mix here and there, when you are able to use all the tools, all the powers, all the gadgets, and really have fun with all the game system and just ignore the chaos system. But the chaos system is an important part of this game. It's a good part that I like. I like that it makes you question what you're doing, but there's almost a conflict in the game itself, which is the game has almost a limited amount of stuff you can play with in stealth. But if you go loud and go scrappy and you fight, yeah, you get to use everything, but you're kind of punished in your way. You're being told it's wrong, especially when you beat the game. But again, that's choice. That's what the game wants to outline. It wants you to make a choice, and all choices in life lead to consequences, or you have to make sacrifices. No good deed goes unpunished, as some say, and the good deed in this game means you have to suffer and limit yourself in a way. But that's what the game wants you to do. The game gives you powers. It gives you insane powers that break the game in half, but the game wants you to limit yourself. It wants you to not use them when you don't have to. Yes, you can be a chaotic nutjob that runs all over the place and kills everyone, but you can also choose not to be. You can choose to be non-violent, and you can manipulate the situation to change the world in a more positive manner without using violence. Yes, violence can make a change, but sometimes if you can influence it in a non-violent matter, the change feels even greater. You have to choose who you want to be. And that again is Dishonored's greatest strength. And that is something many games lack nowadays. Not only does the story itself has something to teach us, but the gameplay as well will make you learn something else. It will make you question what kind of person you are, if you will abuse power and use it completely to get what you want. The gameplay itself reflects the story, and that is what most games now don't do. They don't reflect and reinforce the message in the gameplay. They're almost completely separate. But Dishonored keeps the gameplay and story themes and their message connected, which leads to it having one of the most thought-provoking and impactful stories that a game can have. And I think this is why Dishonored has stuck with so many people, why you see so many people talk about the game and love it. It's why I love the game. It's because it is a masterpiece in what a game can be. The story, for the most part, isn't emotional. There isn't a moment like Noah in Xenoblade 3 screaming as his Welsh cat girl disappears, or Arthur Morgan slowly drifting off into death on a mountaintop. There is no big moment like that. But I will tell you this much, I think Dishonored as a game is better than most. It truly embodies what a game is. If Dishonored did have a big moment that did punch you through your chest like RDR2 or Death Stranding 2 or the Xenoblade games for me, yeah, I would probably feel way more emotion towards it and would probably rank it in my top 10, but it doesn't, because it doesn't need that. It doesn't want to do that. Dishonored's objective from its game is not to tell you a story that will make you cry and feel happy and hate yourself and question everything. It presents a single question front and center and lets you answer that question in-game. It lets you show what you would do with power, with influence, how you would use that power that was given to you, how you would change the world. Would you abuse it? Would you use it in a more meaningful manner to change and manipulate and make a better future? Will you show restraint or dive into the fun and let a little chaos loose? Will you become the very people you opposed and lust for power, or choose to be different and choose to stand against them entirely in action and in morals? That is Dishonored's greatest strength in the end. And I can't remember the last time I played a game where I really felt like this. But not only does it do that, it also reflects a dark reflection on how corrupt the world that we currently live in is. I've mentioned that the game reflects Victorian England multiple times, society, how it works in a culture-wise, and more specifically in how it treats women and views them. But I would be lying if I said that that was still not a reality in today's world for many people. Some countries are still exactly like this. They view women as property, and women are expected to be basically enslaved to men. They're expected to dress, act, and be a certain way. And yes, I think the game itself is highlighting the abuse and mistreatment of women in human civilization. And I think personally, I could also see it pushing the message that people have always expected to be and fit into a certain mold, expected to act, to be, to follow certain things. Gender roles, men don't cry, you should have kids, LGBT doesn't exist, us versus them, tradition versus the new stuff. This game's message basically works on that as well. I need to continue here. Overall, Dishonored I think is a game that has a lot that it can still teach us, and it has a hell of a lot to say. I think the game's message and story applies now more than ever with the rise and changing landscape in a lot of people's thinking, and also certain opinions and lifestyles being pushed more and more. And I think now more than ever, it's more essential to reflect on your own actions, reflect on what kind of person we are all becoming. The world is becoming a darker and more divided world more than ever, in my opinion, and it seems that it's just still growing. Even now, here in the UK, I think that it's gotten as bad as it will get, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and I hear opinions that frighten me for the future, and it just scares me a bit. I'm sure everything will be hunky-dory one day, hopefully, but I feel like it's up to individuals to push back against this sort of thing that's happening, how divided everything's becoming, and that's what I've been trying to do with my life. I'll make it no secret, I used to be someone that was like, very angry, very annoyed at the world, and it did often lead into me pushing certain people away and dividing things into groups, seeing us versus them narratives. Not in the race way that is being pushed now, which we see on the rise with the beautiful Reform Party, but it was mainly with just other people that I knew. But that's the kind of the problem. The reason I was thinking this is because they themselves are pushing this. I made it no secret in my Dying Light video that my best friend of 13 years. I met him when I was 3, and we went all through school together, all the way through secondary school. He became very different in secondary school, and he really did feed into the Andrew Tate, the anti-feminist, anti-woke stuff that really did get popular when I was in my later years of secondary school. And unfortunately, I was very easily influenced. I was very easily changed by others because I was so unconfident in myself, and I tried so desperately to fit in. And this meant that I didn't challenge them on any of these things. Now I will fully challenge anyone on these opinions. Fuck it, I still do to this day. I challenge people on their political beliefs, genuinely asking them if they understand what these parties are actually trying to sell to us and do to the country. A lot of the time, they don't. But I want to just try help people, inform them and teach them, because I think everyone needs to do that. Everyone needs their own individuality. Everyone needs to be able to think for themselves. Now, of course, all these opinions that my so-called friends had, it led to me when they left my life, when they stopped talking to me, when they blocked me on social media, I decided to not keep trying to reach out to them, to mend things. I decided for myself that I was going to stick to a line of morals that I believe in. There is not many people I've met in my life that I genuinely think are great people. A lot of people I knew in the past, I saw as very selfish, very arrogant, and most importantly, they just weren't good friends. So when I decided to make that line in the sand for myself, it was more for my sake than anything else. I didn't want to be influenced anymore. I didn't want to be shaped by others and spew the opinions that others pushed upon me that I couldn't escape. But now I find myself in a place where I'm more confident with who I am more than ever. I am more confident in my own opinion and my own perception of the world because I've chosen to follow morals that I think are good. I know how powerful simple actions can be, how a single word can cause huge impacts. And I think now more than ever, especially in a world where we have a current world leader spewing about war and threatening to kill millions over something that is completely pointless, I think now is the time that people learn that words, actions, everything truly do have consequences, and we need to understand that we need to think about what we are doing. I've always challenged myself to be kind to a fault, always have now. I wasn't before. Once I was mean, angry, horrible, a dick, to be, for lack of a better word. But now I challenge myself to be as kind as possible, as helpful as possible, and to make sure that if someone is struggling, I do try to help. I don't want to be looked at as someone that is just a mean ass, but someone that is reliable, someone that can be looked upon and can help, because I know my actions can have massive consequences and can make a massive difference. I've already seen that. My words, simple words, can have massive effects on people, not even from my videos, but from real life. So I guess my message for this video, and what I think genuinely Dishonored is trying to teach us throughout its game, is that you never know what kind of chaos simple actions, simple words, and simple things you do can unleash upon the world. So every day, take a moment, take a step back, and think about what you're doing. Think about if that phrase, if that jab back at that random person is needed. Yes, it's easy to respond in violence and choose to be angry. But if you choose to be kind, if you choose to turn that other cheek, life becomes so much more satisfying. Life can be so beautiful. Hello lads and lasses, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment and subscribe. Hopefully it was worth the wait. I know this video took me a little bit longer to make. There's a couple reasons for that. Kind of been struggling to make videos recently, I will be honest. I don't know, I haven't really been enjoying the videos I've been making recently, and I've been really struggling to stay focused on the videos. Don't know why that is, but I have a theory as to why that is. But I did enjoy making this video. I had a lot of fun playing the game and everything and talking about it. But man, editing these videos is getting fucking boring now. But let's quickly give the shout out to the people that deserve it, the channel members. Thank you to Chelsea and Tyler, Gator, Darren76, It's Bert, Cart Phillips, Corrego, Zaralino, Kento, Erman the Turk, Ashley, Jane Caliber, Jamie Barrett, Juniper LP, Damlarat, Straight Gin, Synapse, Lolink12, Mr. Disappear, Shaku, Jaquito, Daft Punk 58, Yavayun Hammond, Horizontal, Tyler Reeves, Saint CL, Camden Shepherd, Zartane FF14, Renegade, Sailor Peach, and Not Saber. Thank you everyone for your support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, I haven't actually think I've talked about what I want to do in the next few videos because I haven't actually really been able to plan. There is a bunch of games I want to do. Like I want to do BioShock, Outlast, Dead Space, the first game, because I know I still haven't done that. I'm going to avoid doing Resident Evil for a while. I know a lot of people say like Loner RPG and all that. I will do that game one day, but when I'm ready to, because I don't think I'm ready to do another long video because the Darkwood video took a lot out of me because it's just long. I don't know, having work and everything as well, having to deal with that and try to do content as well on the side and get it out in a good quality and a good time frame. Yeah, it's hard. But also I do want to do eventually the CS video I keep mentioning, but I just have been really struggling to write a script for that. I want to do Left 4 Dead 2 as well. And there's a couple smaller indie games that I've seen that I want to do, and I want to do them, but I'm not doing them. Also, obviously, something like Hotline Miami 2, because I love the Hotline Miami games. And even something like, I know someone asked in the Discord if I do Persona games. I am actually tempted to do Persona 4, but I might save it for maybe a certain milestone. But this is the plan. I'm planning on doing another video, maybe 2. And then after that, it'll be the Dark Souls video. I want to do the Dark Souls video for my 2 year channel anniversary. I know, crazy. In June, it'll be 2 years since I started doing YouTube. So that's kind of cool. And I think Dark Souls is kind of the one that I need to do. Dark Souls, if you don't know, I've wanted to do a Dark Souls video since I started my channel, but I just haven't done it because I've A, not felt ready to do it, and B, I never felt like I had the skill to make the video I want. But I think now I'm kind of ready to do it because I kind of have an idea of how I want to script out. If you want to know, I've had about 10 scripts for that Dark Souls video, which I've wrote out fully, like 10,000, 15,000 plus word scripts, and I've thrown them all out because I'm just not happy with them. So hopefully with my current plan, the script will be good and I should make that video. It'll be a much more emotional video in a way, because it'll be sort of diving into like the whole story of like how my channel was set up, where the idea came from and everything. But it's a video I've been wanting to make basically for the last 3 years now. Like a year before I started my channel, when I played Dark Souls, I wanted to make that video, but obviously I never felt ready to make it. But I think now I am actually ready 2 years later, which is kind of silly. But other than that, of course, like as I stated, Persona 4, I'd love to do a video on that, but I might wait to see if we can hit 100k maybe. Hey, subscribe maybe. If I hit 100k, I'll do a special video, maybe like Persona 4. I'm saving Persona 5. Anyone that's going to ask, Persona 5 will be for 1 million. Persona 5, I've already said to myself, I will either do it if I quit YouTube or for 1 million subs. Will I ever hit 1 million subs? Probably not. But I still think it's good to have a goal in mind and a direction where I want to go. So I always have a target to reach. Also, if I hit 1 million subs and make the Persona 5 video, that would probably be when I face reveal. If I hadn't face revealed up to that point, there's a lot of debate inside of me of whether I should reveal my face or not, so I can make the videos more engaging, because I think visually and physically I'm quite a good presenter when speaking, but I'm very scared because I'm not very good looking, so that's always a drawback. But if I hit 1 million and we do a Persona 5 video, I will reveal my face. That will be the big thing about that video, because I'm sure you can figure out what the main theme and messages of Persona 5 is with removing said mask. I think it works. Obviously, if you see a Persona 5 video and I'm not at 1 million, you can assume that I'm quitting. I'm done with YouTube and moving on. That could be for any reason under the sun, be it I need to quit so I can focus on getting a better paying job, I'm in jail, or I'm dead. One of the three if I had to guess. Or if I had a youngster and I actually have to, as I stated, get a better job so I can pay for that youngster. They are the reasons. But other than that, I don't really have any plans. I'm very open to suggestions at the moment. I've been looking for games, and there is a few games I want to do, like within the near future, like Routine, which was a new sort of space horror game that came out more recently, I want to do. There is an indie game I'm currently playing that I'm going to do a video on because it's quite short, and I want to do a shorter video that is more, I guess, focused on just talking about game meaning and like messages, because I feel like I'm losing a lot of that. I feel like a lot of my videos recently are just being like story recap, which I want to move away from as much as possible. But if there's any games, I know some people will say like, oh, what about Silent Hill F? I was planning on doing Silent Hill F. I'm going to be completely honest. I did not enjoy Silent Hill F. I really didn't. I did not like the game at all. I thought the story was okay. There's a lot there that I could talk about, but the game itself was just not fun. And I don't think I'll do a video on that. Like maybe eventually. I've got all the recording and everything of the gameplay, but I just don't really have a lot to say. Like, I'm not passionate about it, and I'm not going to force myself to make a video I don't want to. So I'm just going to move it back. Maybe if I come back to the game one day, I'll give it a go, but other than that, I'm not sure. Spec Ops The Line, that's another one. The Resident Evil games, obviously I want to do one day. Dying Light 2, the Dead Island games. There's all kinds of games that I want to do, but I just don't really know what I want to do next. So yeah, any suggestions would be greatly appreciated, honestly. But who knows? Maybe I can find a game. I don't know, man. I've been struggling. I need something to really get into. I think I need to take like a couple days to figure out what I want to do while I'm doing the indie game video, just to find a game that I'm really passionate about, that I want to make a video on, because I feel like that's the best videos I make, is when I'm really passionate about a game, like a specific game. Think the Dying Light video, the Dead Space video, or Dead Space 2 video to be exact. I'll figure it out. But again, everyone, thank you for support recently. It's been greatly appreciated, and hopefully I can get back into the swing of things, because I'm definitely working slow. This video should have taken me a week to make. I know you're probably going to think that I should be working, these should take longer. Honestly, I know I can make these videos faster. I'm wasting a lot of time for many different reasons. But yeah, hopefully I'm not getting burnt out. But anyway, that's completely enough waffling from me. See you around. Crocodile.